This is just an audio check for people online. Thank you so much. If people can hear me, let me know. Just do like a thumbs up on Zoom or something. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our meeting. I will call the meeting to order, and I would first like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is in the traditional territory of the Coast and Strait Salish peoples. Oh. I'm sorry. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is in the traditional territory of the Coast and Strait Salish peoples. Specifically, we recognize the Lekwungen peoples, known today as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, and that their historic connections to these lands continue to this day. So I'd like to welcome all of you, and I do have a few quick announcements. First of all, we have consultants in the room at the table from Berlin Eaton Consulting. We have our staff to my right. Thank you very much for being here. And Mayor Murdoch is giving me the honor of chairing the meeting tonight. We do this on a rotating basis. So he is, it is an honor actually. We'll see how it goes though. Mayor Murdoch is sitting where I would normally sit, to my right. And so we also have Councillor Andrew Appleton, who is not here with us tonight. He's in Port McNeill. He will be coming in remotely. He will be about 40 minutes late. He's, for some reason, out of cell range. So he will be a bit late to the meeting, but he will be online shortly. And Councillor Braithwaite is en route flying home from her holiday. So she's in the air and cannot join us tonight, but has been able to join us every meeting, regardless of being overseas. I would like to welcome all of you, as I said, and I would like to have approval of the agenda. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Watson. Are there any errors, omissions, or changes? Seeing none, I will call for approval of the agenda. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. We'll move on to item number 3 on the agenda, adoption of Committee of the Whole minutes. This is from our last Committee of the Whole on April the 22nd, 2025. And I would like someone to move the recommendation. Thank you. Thank you. So I have a mover and seconder. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Carried. Our first guest tonight is a delegation from the South Island Farmers Institute, and I believe it is Katie Underwood, president, and she's here with us tonight. Welcome, Katie. Please come and take a seat at the table, and if you have a presentation, there is a clicker for the PowerPoint available. Thank you. And you have 5 minutes, Katie. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm really delighted to be here. For those of you who are brand new to, or we are a brand new organization, we're the South Island Farmers Institute. And let's see here, up here we are. Oh. So we are a fabulous group of food, floral, and fiber producers on South Vancouver Island. We initiated in July of 2023, and we gathered a group of folks together and found out really what our producers wanted. And a big thing was that they wanted to get together with community. They found that that was something that was really missing. So we established the South Island Farmers Institute. We have members from all over the South Island. We have some that are a little further up island, some on the mainland that just really want to get our newsletters and just be a part of our programming and community. So that's been really exciting for us for the past about 20 months now. Let's see here. I don't know. Okay, great. So we do not discriminate against any type of producer. We welcome tons of different people from all over. So we have livestock producers, floral, mixed vegetable like myself. We have some folks also that are simply community members, and they're groups of organizations throughout the CRD and South Vancouver Island that do a lot of really great things that help support food producers. And there's also home gardeners that are a part of that group. And the only difference between those folks and commercial producers are voting rights. And so we welcome them to become a part of all the education we do. We let them know what's going on in the agricultural community. However, if we do have to vote on a matter that pertains specifically to our food producers, they don't have the opportunity to vote. But otherwise, just really engaged organizations, and we've got about 35 of them now, which has been really great, and it's really helped round us out as well, and keep those community partnerships in the loop with what's authentically going on with our producers. So that's really exciting. So like you can see here, everyone from small scale producers, large scale producers, organic, conventional, landowners, leasing farmers, everybody, we just want to be able to get a really good a really well-rounded idea as to what's going on in community. So that's been really nice. There's people as small as myself who's, I have about half an acre under production, to the Mitchell family who have hundreds of acres that they're producing food on. So it's really exciting to get together with all of us. And so what we really heard from a lot of our local producers is that what we were missing was peer-on-peer education specifically. We have a lot of really great information that our producers have, and we're just so excited to be able to harness that information. So we have a couple different fun initiatives that we've been doing. Currently, this time of year, we run an innovation series, which is summer field trips. We had one last week out in Souk. At Brass Bell Farm, which was diversification on leased land. And that was fantastic. It was the only day that wasn't super rainy, so we were really, really fortunate to be out in Souk on a beautiful day, although a little bit windy. And then we run our, I skipped over the Sustainer series. That's my personal favorite. What we do is we welcome a food producer that's been producing on the South Island, some for decades, some for generations, to share their challenges, their successes, and their family history. And that's been my favorite because we get to learn so many different things about folks that have been farming since the 1960s, like the Mitchell family. I get to learn that both Larry Sluggett and I both dislike geese. And so there's commonalities regardless of our size. And then, of course, we do have some folks who are producing milk that have, on a large scale, that are far different than what I could imagine a challenge would be. So it's really great. But ultimately, our meetings start at 7 o'clock, and I have to kick everyone out by 10 o'clock because it's just too late. But people love to stick around. They love to chat. It's so fantastic. Am I over time?
Speaking of time.
Yes.
And it's not too late.
Okay.
But it is 5 minutes. I
Okay.
have the 5. So if you want to do a quick wrap up, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
So really what I'm here for is just to let you folks know about our new organization, as we are really new. We have a lot of kinetic energy. We're really running with the balls that we have. We do get a little bit of support from the Ministry of Agriculture and a little bit from the Peninsula and Area Agriculture Commission, who's been really great in allowing us to become what we have. But we will be reaching out to all municipalities in the next couple years and just requesting funding. I understand there's no ag land here, but you guys have a lot of eaters and a lot of really good restaurants here too that our food producers are selling to. So we're just really delighted to make the connection, let you guys know we're here. And on the slides too is my contact information. So feel welcome to reach out if you do have further questions, want to come out to a field trip, want to give us $25 to become a member. That's also really great. And also for community members who also want to join the Farmers Institute, learn about local growing.
Thank you very much, Katie. Really appreciate the presentation. Are there any questions from council members before I let Katie go? I just have one question.
Sure.
You mentioned in the grouping fuel. So what is fuel exactly?
Well, it can be anything from like growing a little bit of corn to make
Oh, I see.
into
Okay.
to make into fuel that way, but also too folks that are growing hay, so fuel for animals as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, I have item number 5 now, Mayor and Council verbal reports. So I'll go around the table, starting with Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Chair. I will be brief. It's hasn't been too active this last month for me, but I did attend a few things in the community that were a great time to get out and meet people. I attended the Monterey Center Volunteer Appreciation, and that was wonderful. And they were getting certificates for service from 5 years to 30 years, which is hard to believe, but nevertheless, it's an enthusiastic group, and the staff over there work hard, the volunteers work hard, and it's just always a pleasurable experience. Also had the pleasure of attending, being invited and attending the Business Improvement Association AGM, which has just passed, and hearing about all of the both the past year and certainly the look ahead to the future year of all of the exciting events that they have planned for the community. And I know that those events are very welcomed throughout the year. And then on May 4th, we, along with many members of the community, attended Camas Day up at Uplands Park, and there were tours of Uplands Park, and of course, all of the knowledge shared by the booths that were there, and certainly friends of Uplands Park were there, and some members of our park staff were there, and Dr. Shepard from Cool Kit was there. So, and fortunately, the day was, like the season has been, a little cool, so it was jacket weather, but the camas still looked marvelous. And Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Smart.
Thank you. Yes, it's been very event-filled this last month. So the last month I enjoyed attending a lot of different community events, including participating in the Times Colonist 10K, multiple events for Design Victoria, a fundraiser for Women's Transition House. I also attended Camas Day and appreciated talking with many volunteers in the community. Also attended with all of Council an engagement framework workshop. And the Community Social Planning Council had an amazing empathy mapping exercise that Councillor Watson and I participated in. UVic also hosted a really spectacular connector event around climate change with climate change professionals. That was an amazing opportunity to hear about all of the different research work and initiatives that are happening at UVic. And we also had a town hall this past month. And that's my report. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Chair. Very quickly, and thank you, Councillor Smart. Yes, I enjoyed that afternoon we spent over in the Gorge Pavilion. Was really time well spent. This just 4 weeks since we last gave reports, I was at the advisory design panel as council liaison. It was actually a single agenda item, which is great interest to many. It's the proposed development for townhouses at 2298 Lansdowne Road. So they've now had their opportunity to look at that and provide advice to council. I just last week attended, along with many of the people around the table, but I attended as council liaison in Ms. Braithwaite's absence, the BIA annual general meeting. And I just want to note for the record that during his remarks, President Martin Cowden gave specific mention to the excellent service that the BIA receives from Oak Bay work staff and administrative staff, support that is both seen and also unseen by many. So he took special time to give that praise. This weekend, I got to visit our new MLA Diana Gibson in her newly established constituency office on Cadbury Road at Bowker. If people are just don't know where she is yet. There were many other Oak Bay residents in attendance bending her ear. she must have gone home quite ready for a cup of tea. And then I've had various other community meetings and many conversations and email exchanges with residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Murdoch.
Thank you, Chair. I get to give my updates on a regular basis as the Chair's remarks, but just a couple of updates that have happened since the last meeting. One, I participated in the Greater Victoria Regional Transit Commission's planning session workshop, looking at really big picture issues around capital and transportation planning and so forth. So that's being done by them, but obviously there's lots of work happening at the CRD as well as some of the transportation planning pieces. I also got the honor to attend and present awards at the Hallmark Society, which is a fantastic group, been around since the early 70s, that honors and people who have done sort of notable heritage preservation work. The Vic High restoration and seismic upgrading was actually the main award recipient this year, but there were 4 designations in Oak Bay and 1 registration. So just honoring the protection of that heritage and the restorations that had happened at those homes. And just thought we had CRD last week as well, and the only thing there I think probably of interest to council is just the saga of what to do with biosolids continues. As one of the members of the core area liquid waste body, the long-term planning for that is still underway, and so we're looking at some yet more capital costs attached, like all these projects seem to keep coming forward. And I just wanted to make note that there's 2 questionnaires for the public's interest out right now. There is the annual questionnaire, which shipped with the tax notices. This is one of the ways that we seek sort of general input on priorities of the community. So it's a survey that's open until July 2nd, the same day that the tax bills are due. I'm not sure why we ask for feedback at the same time we are asking you for money, because we tend to get lots of "please don't spend so much money" comments, but it helps us guide our decision making. And the other one is, of course, our official community plan feedback, and that is a really important piece of our land use planning. We are required to do an update this year by the end of the year, and so we have to make some big decisions about where we're looking at what kind of housing and where it should go, and so the public feedback is a really critical part of that, and that has a shorter due date of June the 9th, so please do fill in that survey. It's available online. There's 4 open houses coming up this week and next as well, so please do participate in that. Those are all my comments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, and I will be very brief as well. I was pleased to attend on behalf of the mayor the Monterey Volunteer Luncheon, where I presented certificates for service. I attended the BIA annual general meeting along with other colleagues. I attended 2 neighborhood meetings, April the 29th and May the 6th. I attended the constituency office for MLA Diana Gibson, and then attended an excellent engagement workshop on community engagement sponsored by staff. And that was a great workshop. I really enjoyed it. And then I attended a recreation and culture gathering after a tour that occurred on behalf of Councillor Braithwaite, who is unavailable, so I'm her alternate. So that was there was a lot going on in the last month or so. Thank you very much, and I'll move on then to public comments. So this is where the public has a chance, either online or in person, to speak to an issue that matters to them, and you are invited to come forward if you like, to sit at the microphone and state your name and your place of residence. It doesn't have to be your exact address, just that you either live in Oak Bay or another residence, other municipality. So does anyone wish to participate tonight? Yes, please come forward. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Vanderveen and I live in Estevan Village. Oh, press the button. This one?
Sorry, press the button. And this participation is timed at 3 minutes, if that's okay.
I stand warned.
Thank you.
Jessica Vanderveen, I live in Estevan Village. First of all, thank you all for serving. Listening to the list of all the events that you have to go to all the time, with all the interest in our community that you take, makes me very glad I didn't get elected. But very grateful to all of you for that. I wanted to speak to a couple of things. I met with Diana Gibson this morning about the kind of pressure that you've received, the special advisor and all of that sort of thing. And I think the assurances that I got from her were that nobody's getting fired, first of all. I made sure of that. And that you may not hear much from the special advisor anymore. I think that's kind of a bit more in bed. And I don't know if that's been your experience, but I think that it's fair to say that you can proceed more independently from what I heard. What I really wanted to ask you about a couple of things. The questionnaires, in question number 2, there's no none of the above as an option in different forms of development. There's no none of the above. So it's not a correct Likert scale for survey. And there's no neutral either. So what I did...
Sorry, you're talking about the official community plan survey?
No, with the one that you just gave us with the taxes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And it's the one about the development and would we prefer to have 4plexes or blah, 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 blah. But it has not got a none of the above. And it's also hard to tease apart mentally the idea of supporting densification in zones, strictly defined zones, and a blanket densification. And that's a really important consideration, obviously, because it's going to cost a fortune if we have to do the infrastructure for the entire municipality. It's insane. So I think that question might need to be improved if you do it again. Taxes, I'm glad you raised my taxes, frankly. I think that people have been afraid to raise taxes because of the right-wing agenda, and I think that our infrastructure and our society has suffered for it, and so I'm glad that you did. And I'm willing to take it on the chin if it gets spent on great stuff, like our rec center, which is, I think, the star of Oak Bay and the heart of Oak Bay, and all the other wonderful things that you managed to do with your budget. I would hate to see it go on blanket infrastructure to facilitate developers getting richer and more houses for rich people.
3 minutes just passed.
Okay, good. Then I'll just finish up. I was hoping to ask you if you could apply the principles that were in this article, which got me really excited and I thought was very well thought out and actually reassured me about what you were thinking about. If you were willing to apply these principles and the blockage of not having a new OCP to all of the things that are happening that are out of ken with what we've been doing for the last 25 years that I've lived here. And I just really wanted to say I would be so grateful for that. And to say that there is so much concern in the community, up and down, all the way through Oak Bay and Saanich. I'm hearing from people left, right, and center, the anxiety levels are high and the frustration levels are high. And I would really appreciate it if you would consider giving us some breathing space. And also, legally, I don't think we can do the rezoning until we do that. And I also don't know that we should be kowtowing to Ravi Kanlon about how he thinks our OCP should read, because it's ours.
Thank you very much for your comments. I really appreciate it. It's not an easy topic, and I think we're all grappling with it, and I appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to participate at the moment on any topic? Yes, please come forward and state your name and residence.
As they're coming forward, maybe we could just ask staff about where they appropriate, if there are comments on ways to improve the survey or thoughts. If there's issues, any issues that people see with the survey, is there a place, an email that people could send those comments to, or is there a place on the survey that they could link to?
Ms. Williams?
My apologies, I was trying to view the question so that I could be better prepared. Certainly, if people want to provide feedback on the survey itself, the communications@oakbay.ca would be the appropriate response for that. And the question in particular was not intended to be a Likert scale question. There is I believe it's called a no change option that is provided that's available for folks if they wish to select that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. Thank you. And we'll move on. Mr. Hall.
Yes,
Please-
thank you.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Kevin Hall. I live on the corner of Easttown and Haltane. If I may, I do have a document that I'm hoping to share with council. Am I permitted to do that?
Ms. Williams, is that permissible to share a document with council? Thank you.
Great, thank you. There is one for staff as well, so they're welcome to follow along. And taking from...
I will limit you to 3 minutes, if you don't mind.
Yes, and I was just going to say, and taking from Mayor Murdoch's suggestion from last council meeting, my wife will stick up her hand right after me if I go over, and she'll carry on.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll try and speak quickly and be succinct. So yes, my name is Kevin Hall. I'm a resident of Oak Bay and have lived on the corner of Easttown and Haltane for 34 years. I'm taking this opportunity to speak with you on the matter addressed by council on May 12th regarding the Henderson-Haltane-Estevan Neighborhood Bikeways project. While I have many thoughts on the project generally, today I will speak to a specific portion of the bikeway, the Haltane and Easttown intersection. I listened intently to the debate on the 12th and was sincerely disappointed and concerned that this intersection received no meaningful debate. If not for the motion failing and efforts to bring the matter back at a later date, the 90% drawings may well have proceeded as designed. Once I realized how close this proposal was to implementation, I felt I had a moral obligation, a duty if you will, given my experiences with this intersection, to address this matter before you before I lose that chance forever. After the 12th, I reached out to staff on a number of occasions seeking an opportunity to meet personally for 15 minutes, my intentions being to ensure I understood the drawings correctly, to provide my concerns to the staff and around the current proposal. I was not afforded the opportunity to meet with staff directly, but I did receive email replies describing some rationales on the 90% drawings. Unfortunately, the explanations were insufficient to allay my concerns, and staff appeared unable to provide much clarity without specific direction from council, which I understand. So it appears my last opportunity to address this matter is directly here in 3 minutes. My comments today are based on these drawings are based on 30 years of observations of the intersection, my understanding of the drawings based on staff's written comments and emails back to me, and a request of a friend who happens to be a trained urban planner who has worked in traffic and multimodal planning for decades. And I'd refer you to the document I provided. Please excuse the amateur nature and some of the, I had to draw on it to make it a little bit more obvious. The first page is simply a copy of the 90% drawings, simplified and enlarged, of the Easttown and Haltane intersection. Haltane is on the left bottom side of the page. I've shown the south orientation and the north orientation, and Easttown is at the top of the page, going down to the bottom right. The stop that you see written on the right-hand side is the one stop sign that's being relocated from Haltane over to Easttown. There are no other infrastructure changes other than the bump outs, and the center line where you see on the north aspect, it runs down Easttown. So that center line that comes down has been extended into what you would see as the main intersection location. What, is that my 3 minutes?
Yeah, you're just over 3. Sorry.
Okay. Do you know what this drawing means, right? No.
But the drawing is helpful, Mr. Hall.
Sorry?
I just wanted to say the drawing is helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
So cars unimpeded, and if they cross here, there's a head-on collision.
Oh, yes, okay. Hi, my name is Vicki Hall. I live on the corner of Easttown and Haltane. I am Kevin Hall's wife. As Kevin was just saying, that the circular line that will come down Easttown and go towards Haltane is... Kevin, how did you say it? Sorry. The
Unimpeded flow.
unimpeded flow with Haltane is there's a direct collision line happening in that spot there. That is no doubt. Now where are we here?
Okay.
Sorry. I wasn't supposed to do this part. I was just supposed to read. Okay. When I provided the drawings to my friend, trained traffic and multiple modal planning, he offered the following comments in part. The change of the stop sign from Haltane to Easttown has to do with creating a free flow movement for bikes rather than any traffic safety aspects. The roadway design has placed cyclists at the top of the transportation pyramid, but does not address the adequate safety mitigation. If not a traffic circle, at worst, it should be an all-way stop intersection to improve safety. Otherwise, it is only a matter of time before there is a collision with either a vehicle and or electric assisted bike. My comments to you are based on my efforts to better inform as the nature of the proposed design, the rationale and science behind those changes, and to consider if there is any better alternatives. My work experience, not mine, sorry, my husband's, when dealing with potential changes to policy or regulatory matters are to ensure the variances or changes, particularly with safety, create circumstances that equal to or greater than the protection currently provided. I do not believe that this to be the case here. My request of you all tonight, please ensure you are also informed on that point. I am not well versed in the aspects of liability. However, it is my strong belief that the current plans for this intersection proceed. There will be an accident. An accident will be with significant risk or fatality. That's just reality. When the accident investigation takes place, someone will be asking why this intersection had been designed the way it was, and it will be seeking those answers from the District of Oak Bay. I will also be reaching out to the bike community to ensure they receive the same information you have tonight. This is not an us versus them situation. This is about preserving and advancing safety along the proposed bikeways for all users. I leave these comments in your trust. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and that was good. That was 224. You did better than your husband. So thank you for the presentation and for the drawings, and we appreciate the copies being made available to our staff as well. Thank you. Is there anyone online, while I'm looking, that would like to participate tonight in our public participation period? Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to participate tonight? I don't see any hands, so I think that probably ends the public participation period. Thank you to everyone who did participate. It always makes the meetings more informed and more interesting. Thank you. I will move on now to corporate reporting documents, and under this one is a staff report titled Optimized Development Processes and Assessment and Recommendations. Our Director of Planning, Mr. Andre Boll, is here tonight, and along with him are three consultants. They are from Berlin Eaton Consulting, and it's Catherine Chase, Mr. Richard Eaton, and Madeline Matthews. Welcome to all three of you. Thank you for being here tonight. And I think you know how this works now. There is a PowerPoint clicker, and if you'll use the microphone, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start off with a presentation.
Thanks, Mr. Bull.
Tag team with Ms. Chase here. Short introduction about this council priority project and the results. And thank you for introducing our consultants. See. Oh, that's it. One click will do. I'd like to spend a couple of moments on the current situation and the need for this. There's a major shift underway with due to the changes that have been made to land use regulations and still some more changes to come later this year. And that is in response to housing needs, something that the district has been working on over the years already. And what is the latest on that is from last fall, we identified the housing need for the next 20 years through a methodology prescribed on the province. And over 3,700 units are required over the next 20 years. And for the district, that marks a remarkable shift from not a growing community towards starting to grow again in terms of number of units. And it also will result in higher volumes of development applications and building permits. With that in mind, it's even more important to look at our processes and ways to streamline things, to make sure that our processes and systems are set up for this change. And related to that, also requirements and expectations can be more clear and to make things more expedient for both ourselves, council, staff, applicants, and the community to know what's expected and when and what the processes are. Go to the next slide. I'm going too fast. Should anticipate the delay on this thing. My apologies. I'll go back. that's the one I need. So the Council Priority Project is in two parts. This part is the assessment and formulation of recommendations, and it is funded by a grant from the province of BC. We had a high level of engagement with staff, but also representatives from the development community. Our review was informed by best practices in development processes with the help of the Berlin Eden consultants, which offer 29 years of experience in the public sector with regards to continuous improvement. We took a collaborative approach, making sure we worked with staff that are doing this kind of work every day and know ins and outs about the challenges and the needs, but also hear from our applicants and residents about what is working, what is not working. And this has resulted in actionable and prioritized recommendations that are in attachment 6, and we sought to align those with council priorities. Part 2 is a separate project almost. It would follow up depending on the results of the discussion today and explore and determine how to implement and which recommendations to implement. So I'll hand it over to Ms. Chase now for the next few slides.
Thank you, Andre, and thank you to the Mayor and Council for the opportunity to present the results from Phase 1 of this Council Priority Project this evening. I just wanted to start by recognizing the significant contribution of municipal staff here to this project. Their knowledge, commitment, and direct involvement have been essential to the success of this work and will continue to be moving forward to Part 2. This review was delivered using our firm's continuous improvement methodology, which we've had the opportunity to apply successfully with hundreds of organizations, including several local governments in the CRD. The approach is grounded in best practices, but is also shaped by the people who live these processes every day. Because over the past 29 years, we've learned that the closer you get to the front line, the closer you get to the truth of what happens in an organization and how it works. To this end, for this project, the core of it was engaging a cross-functional team of your staff from all departments involved in the development approval process. And together, they mapped out the current process, which is the image you see on the top of the slide. And what they uncovered was a highly complex process with overlapping responsibilities, lack of clear accountabilities, and relatively long timelines that I'm sure you've heard lots about from the community you work with. But using their insights, coupled with engagement with the development community, best practice research, and municipal benchmarking analysis with 17 other municipalities around BC, including all the CRD municipalities, the team redesigned the process, which is the image shown underneath, or the second image on the screen, in line with Council's goals, which has resulted in a clearer, more efficient approach. And just as importantly, this was a really powerful learning experience for staff. Development processes are highly complex and involve nearly all departments in a municipality, and this approach allowed staff to gain visibility across the entire process, some for the first time, breaking down silos and building a shared understanding of how applications move through from the start to the end of the process. If you go to the next slide, Andre, please. What we also wanted to highlight were some of the main recommendations coming out of this review from staff and informed by best practices. So the matrix you see on the screen summarizes the main recommendations for improvement identified with staff. A more detailed list is included in the staff report, as well as attachments number 1 and number 6 to the report. Importantly, many of these initiatives are already in motion, a reflection of a culture of continuous improvement we found to exist already at Oak Bay, at the district. And I'd just like to note that this is not something we see in every municipality we work with, and speaks highly of your staff's abilities and commitment to their work. In the same vein, I also just wanted to point out that with the development community we engaged, your staff are generally very highly regarded for their professionalism and helpfulness as demonstrated to us through the improvements identified through this project. That said, as Mr. Boole mentioned, the development volumes are increasing and you have a relatively small team. So even though staff identified many improvements, we know that not everything can be approved at once with current resource levels. And that's how we came to this graph. In essence, we worked with staff to assess each recommended improvement based on its impact on achieving council's objectives for this project, as well as the estimated effort or resources required to implement it. Based on this analysis, we recommended focusing first on the implementation items in the top left quadrant, those that had a higher impact and were estimated as having lower efforts to actually implement and improve, while recognizing that some of these actions are also interdependent with higher effort work. One of the most impactful areas this council can influence is delegating additional approval authority to staff, though in a way that's risk managed. We know this is already being explored, and this assessment is just meant to underscore the significance of this opportunity, specifically as it relates to reducing processing timelines for applications. And it also aligns with best practices in development approvals and is consistent with the majority of other municipalities we reviewed as part of this project. Finally, it's also tied closely to two other high-impact recommendations. The first, moving from a one-size-fits-all approach towards right-sizing the process based on the scope of application, as well as streamlining reporting. And we think together, these can help the district decrease approval timelines while still maintaining high levels of quality and developments in line with Oak Bay's unique culture and character. Also, while making sure we're really utilizing its existing resources more effectively, as opposed to only adding more. Before I hand it back to Andre, I just wanted to highlight how the improvements being recommended in this report align with the objectives that Council set out for this project. So on this slide, you can see Council's objectives highlighted on the left and the anticipated improvements we see on the right. So the first objective Council had set was streamlining the process and helping to make it more timely. And we anticipate that the recommendations in this report will help reduce processing timelines, particularly through a delegated approach and right-sizing the review process. There's also an option for Council to consider to fast-track new housing applications to help meet provincial targets if Council chooses to pursue that. Second, we knew that Council had asked us to increase transparency and predictability of the process. And to achieve this, the redesign process and recommendations aim to implement clear expectations around timelines by improving resources available to applicants and the public in a way that makes them more simple and user-friendly. Internally, we know that there was a desire to improve staff collaboration and accountability, and improvements like digital tools and clarified roles and responsibilities will better support collaboration and accountability across departments. And finally, we expect there to be continued high levels of customer service and communication, further improved through tools such as digital submission and payment options, real-time application tracking, so applicants are able to see where their application is in the process and where their project stands. Together, these recommendations aim to deliver a more efficient, predictable, and responsive development approvals process, aligned with Council's vision and the needs of the community. Thanks. I'll pass it back over to Mr. Bull.
Thank you. Turning to the discussion today and the report in front of you, we request direction about part 2 of the project. In part 2, we could leverage Growing Communities funding that has been earmarked for this project to implement the high impact recommendations and to also expedite staff-led operational improvements. And since we are recommending moving to what we call a right-sized review process, we also have an opportunity to consider prioritizing new housing units, for example. And that's one of the options included in the report. Other staff-led improvements would continue, and a project-based approach would support a focused and expedited way to making these key changes, as opposed to trying to do these changes on the side of the desk. And then for applicants, as mentioned, we would like to prepare these additional resources and checklists to improve their process and experience, and systems need to evolve as well, and staff can continue to make some change to the existing systems and expand the use of those systems in the review process. And apologies for the small letter font on the screens. The presentation is also available on our website. This concludes our introductory comments. Looking forward to answer any questions and hear your comments. Thank you.
Thanks to all of you, and I will take questions and comments in a minute. I just have a question. On page 6 at the bottom, it says confidential draft, not for distribution. I'm afraid that's the train left the station on that. So I just wanted clarity, so that probably isn't meant to be there, I'm thinking. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, both of you, and I will move now to council for comments and questions. Thank you. Councillor Patterson, I have Councillor Patterson, Councillor Smart, Mayor Murdoch, and Councillor Watson.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for the presentation. I think it was quite gratifying to see that a lot of the work has been initiated, and that we're for a small community, we are we are moving along, making progress. So that's very nice, and so my congratulations to staff in attaining that. I mean, it's great to see, and I think it gives us confidence as members of council, and certainly as residents in the community, that we're on the right track. A couple of really clarifications, Madam Chair, and through you, maybe for the consultant on this one. And that is on page 4, it says that application volume is comparable to the comparison communities, but the volume of permits seems higher. So I am just seeking clarification on what that statement means.
Yeah, thank you for the question. By permits, we were referring to development approvals, any permits related to development approvals, permits related specifically to building permits that pertain to residential housing.
So just to follow up then, for development approvals, then that would be kind of a larger scope project. Is that what is?
That's correct, and maybe I can ask the Director of Planning to help clarify that.
Mr. Bull?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The differences between the development permits, rezoning, OCP amendments, all of that is development applications. Those volumes are comparable, and the one that is different is specifically the building permits, so anything that directly applies for building permits. Thank you.
Councillor Patterson, any follow-up?
Yes, not on that, but I do have another question, and that again is for, seeking clarification, and that is on the reference in the report speaking about allocating time based on the scope of the project. So in other words, prioritizing it. And I would like a little clarification on perhaps examples of what that would look like if it was carried out.
Mr. Bull?
Yeah, thank you. For you, Chair, the terms we use in the report is one size fits all, which describes our current process, where development applications typically follow the same process with building permits as well. And when we talk about right sizing and differentiating that and looking at the scope of projects, it's recognizing that some projects, to give you an example, that is something that you might see. On the one hand, you might consider applications for, say, an OCP change and a new 4-story building with 15, 20 units. On the other hand, you might consider a building permit in upland siding and design permit for uplands with only a change to a couple of windows or maybe a small addition. Those have very different scopes, and that's an example of where right now the process is the same. Well, not exactly the same, because there's of course the one project has additional bylaw changes, but in terms of the review process and bringing it to council, preparing a report, they are the same, and we believe that's where it could be differentiated. And for building permits, there's simple comparable examples where the process treats everybody the same, which on the one hand is fair, but on the other hand, it means that small permits are in the same queue as the larger permit that might need more time to review anyway. So it's trying to peel it apart and say, well, what about creating two streams for both options there, both at the level of the applications that go to council as well as for the building permits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have just about two more questions, I think, and that is the report does speak to perhaps moving things along more rapidly by having perhaps outsourced consulting review of some, and I'm just wondering perhaps if staff could speak to how realistic that is, particularly with so much pressure right now on consultants reviewing everything permit-wise, what that might, what opportunities, if any, that might present for this community.
Mr. Bull?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. If I could ask for clarification, is this about the part two part of the project, or more about consultant support
Yeah, it was
in application review?
Madam Chair, it was on page 5, the first bullet on page 5. It says less departmental review or potentially reliance on third-party certification.
Thank you for clarifying. Through you, Chair, that relates specifically to building permits, and larger permits increasingly have professionals required for the design of the buildings anyway, and they take their own responsibility as professionals, say a structural engineer perhaps, on designing and signing off on that component of the building, and we are used to reviewing everything regardless. But there are communities that have taken a different approach and say, well, if a certified professional is stamping and signing off on certain elements, we're not going to spend too much time on it. We're going to accept and rely on the responsibility and liability of the professional instead, and that shortens review timelines. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thought that's what it meant, but I just wanted to get that clarification. And my last question is, the report does talk about there has not been an analysis of financial or non-financial benefit analysis to some of the changes that are being made. And so perhaps this question is for staff of if and when financial and non-financial benefit analysis reporting would be done to help council with its decisions.
Mr. Bull?
Yeah, thank you, through the Chair. It's a complicated question and matter because so much depends on the individual measures and then the collection of those measures combined. What is the impact? And so there's on the one hand time savings and process simplification that shortens processes. On the one hand, that saves time, but it also might cause us to review the fees for those applications as well and lower those to be more in line with the effort required. And at the same time, there's other trends going on in the background. As I mentioned, the shift that's taking place, volumes go up, complexity changes as well. The newer infill housing projects, for example, have a bit more complexity because there's more units, the building get larger, they're bumping against the limits of our regulations, there's more to review. So it is a very complex matter. I think down the road, as part of part 2, we can definitely look at a couple of the high level or main changes and review what the impact is of those. But those would still be only partial glimpses at the financial impact and trade-offs that we might encounter, and a lot of this will need to become clear over time. And yeah, this project, I think, in part 2 will allow us to monitor that and keep tabs on it and see how that all plays out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Smart?
Thank you. Very much appreciate the report and even more so the process that was undertaken to arrive at this report. It was inspiring to hear about that. My first question is with regards to the idea of having a checklist for advisory committee. So through you, acting chair, either to staff or consultant as appropriate. But I'm just wondering if it can be described a little bit further what this checklist might look like. And my questions specifically are around whether this checklist is a generic checklist that would be used for every single project, or whether it's a custom checklist that is kind of produced for each project, and in a sense, is it actually more of a point form report? So if a little bit more could be elaborated on what this checklist might be, with an understanding that it might not be known yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and Councillor Smart. Yeah, it's a great question. Right now, we just have a preliminary idea of what the checklist may be and really the intent behind the checklist, which is shortening reporting required in order to make the process more efficient for staff. In that, there was discussion around balancing the information the advisory panel needs to make an informed decision, what an applicant can reasonably expected to provide them, as well as what is staff's role in this. While we don't have an idea of what that checklist would look like, the intent is to streamline the reporting process to what is essential for the advisory panel to be providing feedback on. And that will be further explored as part of phase 2.
Thank you. Councillor
Thank you.
Smart?
Thank you. That's very helpful. That answers my question. I just wanted to make sure that the intent was not to pass that work off to our volunteers. So I'm hearing a good intent behind that one. My next question is with regards to the impact effort analysis chart slide that was on page 72. I really appreciated that graphic just to help understand how we might prioritize all these great recommendations. I'm wondering where it clearly shows the red circle around low effort and high impact. If council does not provide any further direction on priorities tonight and goes ahead with option 1, are we correct to understand that really that page 72 impact effort analysis would be what would guide staff with prioritizing their work? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. Yes, this would be an initial guide for what would lead staff to prioritize their work, with further refinement, knowing that we would need to develop, or staff would need to develop, a more detailed implementation plan, taking into account current resources and capacity. Starting with this kind of high-level slicing of the data. As I mentioned in the presentation as well, some of these items in the lower effort, higher impact quadrant are also dependent on items in the higher impact, higher effort quadrant, such as bylaw updates. So there are some nuances there as well. But the intent would be to provide a more detailed implementation plan and approach as part of phase 2.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. My next question is with regards to applicants having the opportunity to meet earlier with council, which is something that we've been hearing around the table, both from neighbors and developers, that they're frustrated with how long it takes to be in front of council to get some initial feedback. And it wasn't totally clear for me in looking at these improved timelines, which I very much appreciated, the high level of graphics and ability to communicate where we're moving. I just wondered if it could be possible, through you, Acting Chair, to hear from the consultant and staff around, do we feel like with these timeline improvements, we might also be gaining an ability for applicants to meet earlier with council? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the question. It will reduce timelines, so I believe it will kind of expedite the time through which applicants will have a chance to bring their project before council. It is a request we got from members from the development community we engaged. It is a bit unusual. We don't see that happening very often in other municipalities. What we do see more frequently is an opportunity to engage with staff in a more structured way before submitting applications. And that is how what we ended up recommending in the end. But I'll let Mr. Boole add to that.
Thank you, Chair. I might add that, yeah, we did discuss this in the staff team when we were working on all the details. And on the one hand, very, very understandable, right, that applicants want earlier input, and preferably from you. However, the way we have set up the process in the district is a collection of input first from the advisory bodies and from staff, and then report to you, so you have additional information to consider before you give any direction. So that's what we were focused on. How can we make that first bit of the process more streamlined? Also more clarity, by the way, because in terms of clarity earlier on in the process about what is expected, and give a bit more give better coordinated feedback on proposals early on. It also allows staff to convey some of the expectations from the community and in our official community plan. It doesn't quite get to direct council input earlier on, so that is not quite included currently in the recommendation. But there have been a few communities trying that out or finding ways to make that happen. But yeah, as staff, we felt that giving more clarity early in the process and streamlining that first bit getting to council would be more effective at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My last question is just a small procedural one, just around the last few points that Mr. Bull made through you, Acting Chair. I just wanted to know, tonight, do we need to make a motion around potentially prioritizing applications that provide new housing units, or is that something that would come back to council at a later date? Thank you.
Thank you. I will ask staff for guidance. Mr. Bull, thank you.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Yeah, I believe Councillor Smart is referring to the option listed under option 2. Today would be the right moment for Council to give an indication if you're interested or prefer, would like to see options for that. It could be asked later as well, but it is purposely included in the report for you today to offer you the option to give direction on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the questions, and I'll move on to Mayor Murdoch.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Maybe a quick follow-up on that last question. And I was reading through the report. It appeared that was sort of set aside a little bit because it would reorder the current sort of queue, but in the long run wouldn't actually add efficiencies per se. It would just essentially change the queuing model. Is that an accurate summary of what was in the report?
Mr. Bull?
Thank you. In relation to prioritizing new housing units, yes, it would be ensuring that those applications get a different spot in the queue. It's separate from the setting up different tracks or pathways for applications. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll try to keep my questions short. Just recognize we want to get through. We have a bunch of other people here who want to speak to us tonight. Just for my other clarification, a lot of the focus has been on the differentiated streams, triaging, et cetera. But things like digitization and pieces are in the report, those are all expected to form part of the phase 2 work plan that'll come back to council. Is that correct? I saw nods, but maybe just a quick yes or no.
Through the chair, yes, that's correct.
Okay, good, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Patterson asked one of my questions of that already. So just in the last piece I wanted to touch on is the recommendation on triaging between this more sort of simple and the complex projects, and just try to get my head around what that might look like. Would that essentially be looking at you would require different levels of information on, say, smaller projects, and the process would be simpler? I'm trying to get my head around, is this sort of for renovations, small developments, larger developments, the required amount of information would be different and the reporting and approval process would be different? Is it all aspects of the process?
Yeah, through you, Chair. Yeah, the focus is on creating different pathways. So we would set up criteria and process steps that would apply to the new one would be for the smaller projects. So it would provide, in the case of development applications that go to council, the change would there be options to either not go to council or in different ways. But the key change proposal there is not to go to council, but have some kind of delegated approval with or without advisory body input. And then for building permits, the key change would be that some permits don't need a lesser detailed review and have different timeline expectations. And instead of trying to manage the overall volume and the overall timelines, there would be two queues, so to say, that each are managed to their timelines and have different, slightly different process. Thank you.
Thank you. And through you, Chair, to the consultant group, it looked like a large portion of our burden is on the building permits as much as it is on development permit applications. Is that accurate?
Yes, I would say we looked at both, with more of a focus on the development permits. However, the volume of building permits is significant in Oak Bay, especially compared to other similarly sized municipalities. So definitely something we would recommend looking into further and spending a bit more time exploring how solutions to that portion of the process could help improve efficiencies and timelines.
Great, thank you. Just again, for my clarification, that is work that would happen in phase 2 if this moves forward. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great, thank you. And I think I'd just kind of share one, I guess, statement more than anything in support of that. At least I think most of us hear anecdotal evidence or stories about people who just don't apply for permits, particularly for renovations and things of that nature. And I think many times because the time and length uncertainties really weigh on them. They have a builder and they can't afford to have it delayed by 6 months or something on our end. The cost doesn't typically play into it too much, but certainly that delay does. And so given the importance of us to be able to, document changes to houses and make sure that the work done is to code, there's obviously significant benefit for us to find ways of making that application process streamlined and easy. And I guess the only question I had around that is just, one area I think that we don't spend enough time talking about and what governance level looks at is that acceptance of risk. So obviously if we're accepting that people, if they put in an application that's sort of default approved and if they have certified builders or what have you attached, those changes obviously would come back to council for that. And I take it that's some of the work that's going to go on and sort of look at how far we can go down that path of delegation. I think that was the question that Councillor Patterson asked earlier. Is that so kind of a half question in there, but is that a fair understanding of what we're trying to get to?
Through the chair, yes. Any criteria for delegation would be developed by staff, but go through council.
Right, perfect. Thank you. And I'm very very pleased that the delegation is being considered both on the building permit as well as the development permit, or building permit side of things as well as the development permit side. I think both halves of that equation could help with some efficiency. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Moving on to Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, just a few questions. One is, first of all, I think these are all going to be the staff and consultant in combination there. And my page references here are going to be to the whole agenda because mine is not broken up into individual parts. But I just want to clarify on in the staff report, there is a diagram that's called Best Practice Review, and it has 15 items on it. There's a group of 11 out of 15, and then 4 more for consideration. And so I'm just trying to understand those in the context of this Part 2 work. So it looks like 2 of the group of 11 items, which would be in Part 2, have already started. Are they completed or are they just begun? Oh, completed. They've got a check mark. Right? Yes. So 2 items of that 11 that came out of the recommendations from your review have already begun. That's a question.
Thank you, Chair. Through the Chair, I'd like to clarify that. So this page that you're referring to, and I think might be page 55 in the package. Anyways, it compares the best practices recommendations that the province had compiled, and it just did a bit of a benchmark, if you will, looking at what already was in the works or completed within our district. So it's in that context. So it does not directly relate to the next recommendation for the next phase. And of comparing us to best practices, that's where 2 of these items had been completed already. There's several others that are underway in some shape or form, and a few on the right-hand side that we haven't really embarked on just yet or not implemented any changes, I should say. Thank you.
Thank you for that. There's a lot of overlap between what's in the best practice review guidelines and what you're proposing we set off to do. So I just wanted to make sure I was following the plot. Thank you. This is a simple one. In the proposed work plan, will the consideration of increasing delegation and considering exempting some minor work extend to uplands siting and design applications?
Through the Chair, yes, that would extend to that permit as well. Basically, we would look at all our permit types. Thank you.
Thank you. A question about the proposed first come, first serve model that you're asking tonight for council direction on. I want to know if you have at present any examples of approaches other than a first come, first serve model for accepting applications at building permit counters, whether in BC or elsewhere. Yeah, because I'm concerned about where the second class group ends up and how they get any kind of predictable time frame about when they'd be dealt with.
Through the chair, let me see. I think I've seen from what we learned from other communities and doing the review, some of them, there's a few that have really short turnaround timelines, and that was deliberate, and that was priority for those communities. So they made sure that turnaround times are 1 to 3 weeks, which is really expedient. In that case, they definitely are not making distinction between permits because everything goes through pretty quick, and they have set up their processes and staffing levels for that. Most are a bit longer. I haven't seen a lot of examples, although it's usually a bit more informal. And let me see what's going to say about this. I was just talking about the different pathways, but each pathway still needs to be considered as a package, so to say, or combined with the overall service level, right? So we couldn't, and that's why this needs to be thought through and set up with criteria and guidelines, so that we manage both queues fairly and not favor one queue, for example, for the smaller scope projects over the ones that are more complex. So somehow there needs to be that mechanism. It's probably in the allocation of staff time that needs to be adjusted from time to time, that we make sure that each of these queues meet their desired timelines, or at least stay as close to it as possible. And if there's delays, that it's equally shared, so to say. Really practically, I've been imagining that might be that you have the regular queue, which is the current queue, and then the shorter route, so to say, is kind of measured or targeted at a percentage of the longer queue, so to say. And that timeline is actively managed to make sure that everybody gets their fair chance and fair turn at our staff time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you. And then just a really simple question. A product, it sounds like it's a software product called Bluebeam, is mentioned a few times as an electronic tool. Is that workflow software that helps departments know what everybody's doing at a certain point in time and does the handoffs?
Through the chair, it's a review tool. You can also use it as a PDF viewer. But the functionality it offers is collaboration, so it's a tool that allows you to make comments on drawings or plans or documents, but share those comments with a team, and that means that there's a single set of updated or marked up plans that can go back to an applicant, and they can even work in there as well to resolve matters. So it's in my own words, an advanced PDF editing tool. Thank you.
And then finally, this is just back to a question that the mayor raised about risk and the possibility of delegating some aspects of building permit review. Will the Part 2 work possibly consider also, and I don't know if there's any scope for this, but eliminating the need for some permits completely. So we may be asking some people to take out permits for jobs that under a risk model we would say is maybe not worthwhile. So is that part of the scope of work that you anticipate?
Through the chair, yes, that is part of the scope through the review of bylaws, including the building bylaw and the scope of where a building permit is required.
Thank you very much. That's all my questions, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any second-time speakers on council? I just have my own question, just one, actually, and it's very broad. This is a highly technical, process practice-oriented discussion. Mine pertains more to the council priorities that were identified at the beginning of our term that involve such things as livability, transportation, climate, diversity and inclusion, truth and reconciliation, and of course housing. I just wondered broadly how those council priorities may or may not be integrated into this work eventually, or what at the outcome impact level, because I know these are priorities that are important to the community at large. So I just wondered, and are important to council generally, but I just wondered how they might be reflected in the work eventually. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll speak first and then pass it over to Mr. Boole. Through this project, we mainly considered the objectives specific to the council priority project. However, we also considered some of these broader objectives as well. And the main way we did this was involve a steering committee made up of leadership through staff who all represented these priorities in different ways when we were setting up the project and talking about what staff and leadership's vision for this project was, and were incorporated through that conversation. However, there would be an opportunity to look in more detail how these outcomes and recommendations would help achieve some of these broader priorities as well as part of Phase 2.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Any further questions or comments from council? Do the public, any members of the public who wish to comment on this process, either online or in the audience? My other question is, has Councillor Appleton joined us yet? No, I just wanted to give him a chance to weigh in as well. Are you there, Councillor Appleton? No. Okay. So, yes, come forward. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Bruce Kilpatrick. I was not aware this item was on the agenda tonight, so I have not done any of my homework. I have not done any reading on this, and so what I now know about this proposal is what I've learned by sitting in the gallery here tonight. So please consider what I'm about to say as really comments on the current process, development process, which I'm hoping that this project will go some ways towards addressing. Some of you will know that I'm the Vice President of the Community Association of Oak Bay. I'm also a resident in the Chefe neighborhood, and I was a member of the Advisory Design Panel land use for 2.5 years. So I have some experience in seeing these things come through as a member of an advisory body. And what I wanted to say is that there's a few areas which I think are seriously flawed at this point, and hoping that this project will address them. For instance, when it comes to the Advisory Design Panel or the Advisory Planning Commission, because there is no opportunity for community input there, through personal observation and experience, I'm aware that those bodies don't always have complete or accurate information in front of them when they're being asked to consider something as a recommendation to council. So I think that really seriously undermines the value of recommendations coming out of those bodies in helping you come to well-informed decisions when it comes to decision time. Secondly, the public information meetings, which are currently part of the process, it's entirely up to the proponent at this point. So there are no criteria which the district sets for this around format, day, time of the meeting, feedback forms, what happens to the feedback that's collected. Will the community get to see that at the end of the day? Will council get to see it, sort of the raw verbatim comments that have been collected from community members? Thirdly, communications between departments are sometimes not perfect. And so it seems that departments aren't aware of things that are happening in other departments in the district that might have a significant effect on the proposal that's in front of or heading towards council. And I guess ultimately, I think the current system really promotes conflict, because the first time the community really gets to weigh in on something is when it comes before council and the proponent has already invested time and energy and money. And this is the first time people in the community are really getting a look and having a chance to say, you know, maybe we could do things a little differently here and it would work better if we did it this way, or are you aware of all of these dynamics in the community? So just as I finish, to circle back to my introduction, I'm the Vice President of the Community Association of Oak Bay, and one of our strategic priorities is community engagement. And so I know that our board and our members would be delighted to get into a conversation about what do we do with the development processes going forward. And I'm familiar that the province has put some restrictions on how things can happen now. But I think we could be creative around that. You know, maybe there's different things we could do at the permit level that would allow for some for some more community engagement. So I guess that's an offer on behalf of the Community Association. Maybe it's stage 2 of this project as you move into that, to really work together to try and get residents of Oak Bay an opportunity to have their say in this as well. Because I think, you know, that idea of the closer you get to the front lines, the closer you get to the truth. Well, these are the people who will live with the results 24/7. So I guess I just urge council to take all of these things into account and look to the Community Association as an eager and willing partner to try and make sure that these processes have community.
I have to call time. I'm on the
halfway
front
through my
line of
last
the clock
sentence. I was
here.
halfway through my last sentence. So it's a willing and eager partner to make sure that these kind of processes really work for the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wish to share their comments or ask any questions? I should explain that the Committee of the Whole meeting does not make decisions tonight. We do not make decisions. We refer items that have appeared on the agenda to our regular council meeting where decisions are made there. So just for the public's information. Well, thank you very much, everybody who participated. I then will come back to this table. Thank you. I will come back to this table. We have 2 motions that we have to make. The first one is
Move
to...
receipt.
Pardon?
Move receipt.
Thank you. That was quick. Seconded by Councillor Smart, was it? Oh, Councillor Patterson. Any further questions or comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And I need a second motion.
I'll move to option 1, the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Patterson seconds. Any further comments? Councillor Smart?
Yeah, thank you. I won't be supporting the motion because I have a preference for option 2. I see option 2 as an innovative way of helping our community to build homes sooner. So I won't be supporting the motion around the table.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right. Mayor Murdoch?
Yeah, thank you. I think, really appreciate the hard work that's gone into this. So it's clear that a lot of thought has gone into a wide range of aspects of how we manage both applications and processing of applications for building permits and development permits. And it's not easy, obviously, but I really appreciate that. I think, you know, all of the aspects in this, I think, deserve to be looked at. I appreciate that this is going, if it moves forward and gets approved by council, it'll trigger a work plan to start prioritizing and starting some of the work to go forward. I think we all probably support that. So I think I'll talk to Councillor Smart's point, because I think that's probably the one question, and it's really a philosophical question about whether or not we should include in that a request to prioritize net new housing or projects that include net new housing units. I think that's a laudable goal. There's certainly value to the community in that. There's also value to the community of all kinds of other things. So if people have a small renovation and can get that done quickly and have those cost savings, that's a big plus. If there's or just as renovation that might result in the preservation of an existing home that might otherwise not survive, I think that has benefit as well. And where I think, you know, where that won't address is the big project. So I think we're talking about small projects that do or don't add 1 or 2 units versus, you know, the larger apartments and multifamily, which would not fall under the same triaging. So for me, I think I don't philosophically, I think it has value. I appreciate that it's being brought forward as an option. But for me personally, I think that it doesn't differentiate enough. I think our priorities here should be, you know, triaging based on how fast we can get things through and scale of the projects. But I think making the determination of value based on the number of units and things is probably not the right path from my perspective. So I really do appreciate it being brought forward and appreciate it being sort of separated out as a philosophical question, but I do support option 1 because I don't think that's the right path at this time. If we're seeing that things are getting bogged down, I'd be happy to reconsider that in future.
I'm going to interrupt and welcome Councillor Appleton. Councillor Appleton, can you hear me?
I can, thank you, Chair.
And welcome to the meeting. And we are just in the process of contemplating a motion which has been made, is on the table live, and that was the motion on option 1 on the staff report. Were you
Thank
able?
you, Chair. I think I would probably abstain from this vote because I wasn't here for the debate, but I will leave it to my colleagues. Thank you.
So, do you have comments then?
Not at this time, Chair. Thank you.
Or any questions of staff?
No, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Appleton.
Hello, just a point of clarification. Abstaining is voting in the affirmative in this case. So if Councillor Appleton will need to participate in the vote.
Understood.
Yes, that's right. Abstaining is not actually a vote, a proper vote. Okay, I'll come back to the table then. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Watson?
Yes, thank you. I will support option 1. I looked at option 2 quite carefully, and in addition to some of the examples and concerns that the mayor has raised with respect to prioritizing one building project over another, I could think of lots of examples where you just wouldn't want that to happen. Particularly from an applicant's point of view, but also from the municipality's point of view. And I thought, for example, a series of renovations to existing affordable rental housing in our community, where there might be safety upgrades or energy upgrades that were needed to be done. And that they're not going to add any new housing units, but they're certainly going to increase the quality of life or the financial viability of the projects themselves. So that's an example. I should also that I have personal experience working in a public housing system where I, as the director of one provider, was responsible for a first-come, first system of allocating affordable housing units. And our metro partners used a points-based system based on need. And the biggest problem with the needs-based system is that there was no predictability for the folks, because you could have been waiting for 3 years and somebody had a higher need based on various factors, and you haven't made any progress really forward to getting the unit you needed. So I would say that with years of experience doing that, I already have some prejudice against like prioritized systems, and that first come, first serve does in fact guarantee that your application will be dealt with on a timely basis.
Thank you. Any other comments, Councillor Patterson?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I also will support option 1. I do, and I appreciate that the option 2 was put in there, but I think that as a mature community, we really, to focus solely on new housing units should not be the goal. The goal is to create a good community. I agree with Councillor Watson. We may have many existing buildings where upgrades are desirable for all kinds of reasons. And so I wouldn't want to see those get bogged down. I certainly know with my years of commercial development experience that there are ways to expedite the process. I think that what is presented before us, particularly by way of having professional stamped drawings, you can gain reduced time schedules in most municipalities throughout Canada. And so there are opportunities. I think what I see in the report are good and comprehensive recommendations, and I think that as we move forward as phase 2, some of those will be perhaps identified a little more closely, and perhaps we will change gears a bit, but I think that this is the best way for us to move forward for this community at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else before I make a brief comment? Councillor Smart?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to elaborate a little bit more on my support for option 2, just with regards to, I was really comfortable with the wording in the report around what I saw as a light touch towards supporting getting our housing needs and the needs of building new homes done quicker. So I was comfortable that it wouldn't derail our schedule in general. And we just really appreciated the innovation of trying something to support the residents in our community who do not have housing. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just briefly thank staff and the consultants for being here tonight for a comprehensive report and comprehensive presentation. Thank you. And for taking a number of questions, some of which were not easy. I think generally I will also support option 1. I think I look at Oak Bay as as a context, and I think that's a really important context that we must think about, which is why I mentioned the broader values of livability. We're not building just units, we're building homes for people, some sense of quality of life, and I think that's a really important thing not to lose sight of as we chase numbers. And so I really appreciate the work that's going into this, and I hope those comments will be helpful. Councillor Appleton, I see your hand. Well, actually, it was Councillor Patterson. I see it now.
Thank you, Chair, and I thank you, Councillor Patterson. Yeah, and so now catching up with the business of council, and my apologies for being late. I understand. I see now the options being discussed on the table, and yeah, I will just revise my earlier comment. I would be more in support of option number 2, so I would be opposed to the motion on the floor. I think both have validity, have some significance to them, and can have positive effect. I think I would actually prefer option 2 in prioritizing new housing units if asked to choose between those two. So I will not support the motion on the floor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Appleton. I'm going to call the question. Is that safe to do? Everyone's had their say now. Thank you. Okay, I'm calling the question. All those in favor? That's 4 in favor. And all those opposed? Councillor Smart, Councillor Appleton opposed. And that motion passes. Thank you all. Thank you. So we can move on now to item 7.2, which is the 2025 grant and aid applications. I want to thank all of the applicants who are here tonight for waiting for so long. And it is sometimes like watching paint dry, I know that. So I really appreciate your patience, and thank you very much. And I'm going to actually turn this over now to our Director of Financial Services, Ms. Rihanna LaChance, and Director of Finance and Asset Management. I forgot about the asset management piece. Welcome, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. Good evening. I often think I should have an acronym that's a bit shorter for you. Each year, the approved financial plan includes a grants budget in support of community services delivered throughout the community through other community organizations. In order to allocate this budget, Mayor and Council deliberate as a separate process outside the financial planning process. As part of this process, each year, Council invites requests from various community organizations through an online intake process, which is guided by principles contained in the grant and aid policy. The report before you outlines the history, the annual budget available to Council, and presents all applications received, with the policy also attached for Council reference. In keeping with the process, this evening, Council will receive this report to kick off the process, and will hear presentations from applicants who have opted to present here this evening. Staff are seeking direction from Council to follow the Council-approved grant and aid process and return to Council with assigned amounts and averages to be deliberated on in an upcoming Council meeting. Staff are available to answer any questions and take direction from Council. And with that, my introduction is now complete. We can move on to presentations if Council so wishes.
Thank you very much, Director LaChance. And I would like to especially recognize staff. They have prepared to help me as chair, but also all of us have prepared a great list here. So I know who's online, and I know who is in person, who is presenting tonight. So thank you for that. And we begin. And so the grant and aid applications, I think most of you are familiar with the process. Every municipality, to my knowledge, has a grant and aid process. And it encourages organizations, both in our own community and in the region, to apply for grant funding. This is one of the most meaningful parts of the work that we do every year. It's also one of the most difficult. It's a tough decision, and so it's always helpful to have people come forward and present in person, either online or here in the chamber. So thank you for that. So I will begin with the Action Committee of People with Disabilities, Kimberly Motur, and I don't think Kimberly is actually here tonight, so we'll move on. The next one is the Canadian Heritage Art Society, Aaron Gavigan, Managing Director, and I believe Ms. Gavigan is here in person. Please come forward. Thank you. And I will time you. I'm sorry. Roughly 3 minutes. Thanks so much.
And is that the button I push? Is that right? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm the new Managing Director of the Canadian Heritage Arts Society, and we also run the Canadian College of Performing Arts up on Elgin Road, sort of just around the corner. What we've applied for to council this year is some support in re-establishing our movie night series. So it's part of our community engagement programs. Our movie nights are managed through volunteer efforts of our board of directors and governors, which is led by Roxanne Helm. And it offers free film screenings in our performance hall on weekends. And this has now grown to have an established mailing list of over 50 local residents who come. We want to increase this to be a monthly offer to the local community. People have been found to be queuing outside of our building for them to open up, and it is offered free of charge to local residents and community members. I have a couple of quotes from people who have really engaged over time. One says, "Movie nights expand our horizons, culturally and socially. In a very friendly milieu, we see well-selected older films that we might not otherwise see and are able to chat about them, often with people we have not previously known." Another regular attender says, "We've regularly enjoyed these movie nights put on by the Canadian Heritage Arts Society this past year. Even our 6-year-old grandson loves them. It's been great fun to watch eclectic films in our own neighborhood being enjoyed by multi-generational audiences." By offering these accessible, no-cost events in a shared local creative space, the series offers a sense of belonging and community connection. It celebrates the artistic medium of film and provides a platform for cultural engagement and dialogue that brings people together. This initiative ensures that everyone in Oak Bay can participate and enjoy this enriching artistic experience regardless of their background. And anecdotally, we also know that many people who come also then go out to local restaurants and cafes to dine before or afterwards. It costs about $8,000 for us to run an entire year. The majority of that is our space, which the Canadian Heritage Arts Society provides without any sort of additional charge. But we do have costs associated with licensing and sourcing of films. And so we're asking for a $2,500 grant in aid, which would allow us to put on a minimum of 10 movie nights with 2 screenings on each of those, plus additional screenings throughout the year for other local companies and organizations.
Thank you so much. You did a great job. Under 3 minutes. Thank you. Really appreciate your being here tonight. The next organization is Capital Regional Food and Agricultural Initiative Roundtable, and someone I know from my days in North Saanich, Linda Gagey, and I believe Linda is online, Executive Director. Hi, Linda.
Hi there. Hello again. It's so nice to see you, and thank you so much for having us, Mayor and Council, and for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. It was nice to see Katie from the South Island Farm Institute here as your delegation, so you're going to hear a lot about food tonight. I know there's some other organizations from our network lined up here. This is such a growing issue in our region, food insecurity. And I'm here today to ask for support for our annual gathering of our network. So you will hear about the fact that food insecurity is on the rise. It's risen over 23% within our communities in the last 10 years. But you'll also hear about the power of our community and the strength of our network, our Good Food Network, to advance responsive and forward-thinking solutions. I'm here representing CR Fair, and we're the coordinating body of the network. It's made up of over 100 food and farm sector organizations, funders, researchers, local government like yourself, health promoters, and community organizations. We're all working together to promote and build healthy, just, and sustainable food systems across the capital region. Oak Bay already supports backyard chickens, community gardens, and local pollinators through your beekeeping bylaw, I was pleased to read about, and it reflects your commitment to ecosystem health and community well-being. Your community plan also outlines goals like community inclusion, sustainability, and resilience. What may not always be visible is that approximately 10% of Oak Bay residents are low income, and we know about this as being the greatest indicator for food insecurity. We just heard on the CBC that food prices have the highest rates of inflation for Canadians right now. Grocers are flagging that imposed tariffs are going to exacerbate the situation. And we're seeing a lot of pressure on families and seniors with fixed incomes in our upticks in our food security programs. So our request today is to be part of our outreach to local municipalities to support with a small contribution to our annual gathering. That's where we come together to share our strategies and increase food security, steward land and water, strengthen climate resilience across neighborhoods, municipal boundaries, sectors, and generations. And it's important because the gathering is super important because it allows us to catalyze initiatives such as the things that we've accomplished over the last 10 years, launching school food programs, growing community gardens, seniors meal programs, and regional agriculture supports and land access policies. A really
Linda,
impactful initiative.
if you can wind up.
Yes.
Would you mind winding up? We're getting close to the end. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had 3 to 5 minutes. So I'm sorry if I'm a little over. That's what the
Okay, you go ahead and finish then.
said.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this year marks the 10th year of our Good Food 2025 strategy. It's a very important year to bring the network together to learn what we've accomplished, but what were the conditions for success and how we might move forward strategically. So we would really invite you to attend, but also to support us with a small contribution for this important regional work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I must apologize, and Ms. Gavigan is gone now, unfortunately. I forgot to ask my colleagues if they had any questions. So now I'm going to ask, do any of you have any questions of Ms. Gagey while she's still with us? No questions. And thank you very much for being here tonight. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to the Community Association of Oak Bay. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Oh, perfect, our PowerPoint presentation. All right, so good evening, everyone. My name is Heather Cochran. I'm the president of the Community Association of Oak Bay. With me is Bruce Kilpatrick, our vice president. And timer. Yes, and timer. And online we have Bill Trott, our treasurer. So we've got a very brief PowerPoint that we'll launch into in just a moment, but first I wanted to emphasize the Community Association is a registered nonprofit. We've been active in Oak Bay since 2008. We're 100% volunteer driven, and we work not for the benefit of our members, but for the benefit of the whole Oak Bay community, those who live, work, and play in Oak Bay. Our grant request this year is the same as it has been, what we've requested and what we've received in the past few years. That's $3,000. We propose to spend all of that money hosting free public events that encourage community engagement and promote quality of life by focusing on issues of public importance to residents of Oak Bay. You have our financial report, and you can see from it that last year we spent a total of $3,560 on these public events. That includes room rentals, which are typically district facilities, so a lot of that money goes back into the municipality, advertising, materials, and insurance that's required by the district in order to rent those facilities. We're budgeting for similar numbers this year, hence the $3,000 ask. To show you where the money that you provided last year went, as I said, we've got some brief slides to hit the highlights. So last March, we hosted our housing forum, which of course the mayor participated in, as well as the Minister of Housing. That was very well attended. Last March, we also hosted our AGM featuring Kent Laforme, the sculptor who did the Stakea sculpture down at Cattle Point, another well-attended but smaller scale event, as well as a talk in last April, actually, on helping to make Oak Bay a dementia-friendly community. And last October, we hosted an all-candidates forum in conjunction with the provincial general election that was at the Gary Oak Room at Monterey Rec Center. I think most of you attended that one as well. And again, a very well attended event. We unfortunately had to turn some people away at the door, so we might be looking for larger facilities next time. And I also wanted to highlight a few of the events that we've already hosted, seeing as we're now 5 months into this calendar year. So this year we've hosted another talk on housing, a talk on tariffs featuring Minister Diana Gibson, as well as our local MLA, as well as the BIA and others in the community as a panel event. And most recently, we hosted a talk in April featuring Dr. Anna Hall, a marine biologist, focusing on marine mammals of Oak Bay, which was a very popular event. But I also wanted to note, in addition to talk, we do get down to action by supporting initiatives like the Cool Kit Project. There we are supporting a members' initiative on Beach Drive. Of course, the Green Map, which we continue to oversee the digitization of. And we're a partner in the Truth and Reconciliation Oak Bay Network and supported a number of initiatives and events they hosted this year. And I think that's it. So, subject to any questions that you may have, that's our presentation. We're hoping to grow these events as well as our membership in the coming year.
Great time. Thank you. Any questions from any of our council members? Thank you very much for being here. And I've attended a lot of those events, and they were well done. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you for having us.
Okay, we're going to move on to the Community Social Planning Council of Greater Victoria, Miranda Levert, and I believe Miranda is here in person. Welcome, Miranda. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Miranda Levert, and I'm a case manager with the Greater Victoria Rent Bank and Community Social Planning Council. I'd like to begin by thanking you for the opportunity to speak about our program and our grant and aid application this evening. The Greater Victoria Rent Bank was developed in 2021 by the Community Social Planning Council to prevent eviction for low to moderate income families through non-interest-bearing microloans. Since then, we've distributed about $850,000 in loan capital alone. To fill the gap for renters who are not eligible for our loan program, we've recently secured funding for one-time non-repayable grants and ongoing rent subsidies to better support our community. Demand for this program has grown steadily. We saw an almost 11% increase in applications from Greater Victoria renters from 2023 to 2024, and based on the number we've received so far in 2025, we expect to see a further 12% increase by the end of the year. We received 35 applications from Oak Bay renters in 2024, up from just 4 in 2022.
Wow.
While funding distributed to Oak Bay renters has varied, our loan distributions have remained consistent at over $5,000 per year, with $5,300 in 2022, $11,200 in 2023, and $7,200 in 2024. In the first 4 months of this year, we've already distributed $1,675 in loans and nearly $5,000 in rent subsidies. I would like to note that there is a significant increase in families applying in 2023, as well as the average loan amount rising from $1,325 to $1,880, which does explain a sharp increase that year. We are also seeing growing strain among Oak Bay applicants. In 2024, they reported spending 57% of their income on rent, and that number has jumped up to 79% in the first 4 months of 2025. Many are on fixed incomes, such as seniors or single parents, people recently discharged from hospital or separated from their partners, leaving them unable to cover the rent at their current unit. We're careful not to put renters in the position to repay a loan if they don't have the means to. To address this need, we've been providing rent subsidies at an increased rate in Oak Bay. In fact, 25% of all rent subsidies we provided have gone to Oak Bay renters. Municipal funds we request are used strictly for loan capital and not operations. We ask for an amount equal to or less than what we expect to distribute in loans. And when municipalities support our loan program, they receive the benefits from 3 forms of eviction prevention in our loans, our grants, and our rent subsidies. Thank you for your time and attention, and I'd like to open it up to any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Watson and then Councillor Patterson.
Yes, thank you for coming to tell us about how the program works. I just have one question about what happens when you get more requests than are in the fund that's particularly allocated for Oak Bay.
So when we don't have the funding to meet the need, we do have some backup funding received from Van City Community Foundation that helps support us through that time. However, our capacity is limited, and if we don't have funding, we just have to distribute loans at a decreased rate.
Thank you.
Councillor Patterson?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. A couple of questions. One is, how do you receive and give referrals to the applicants?
So we receive referrals through a variety of community organizations, usually provided through places like Burnside Gorge or their landlords in specific. They'll send them to us if they know that they're in a position where they can't pay their rent that much from a one-time crisis, such as like a pet getting sick and having to pay a vet bill or having to take time off of work. And then to provide referrals, we have some community connections with, again, like Burnside Gorge. We have connections with credit counseling societies to support with financial literacy, with the Victoria Women's Transition House, and other community organizations. So we have contacts at some of these, and we can send them directly to them, or we connect them via phone or email.
Yes, thank you for that. And through you again, Chair, just do you have any statistical data on the success of the program? Like, does it really bridge the gap so that it kind of provides that helping hand? And the second part of that is the loan aspect of it, and what is the recovery percentage of the loans?
Thank you for the question. The BC Rent Bank put out a press release in 2024, the beginning of 2025, where they discussed the effectiveness of the program, and I believe that it was around 90% of the people that received loans through the BC Rent Bank were still housed 1 year later or 5 years later. I can't say that with complete confidence, but I know it was quite a high proportion. And for the repayment part of it, we're not loan sharks, and we don't want to put any additional strain on our applicants because we know that people come to us in a vulnerable position. So we try our best to work with people and fit their budget. If they are going through a tough time, we can just defer payments. We can stretch the repayment term, or try to really make it fit with them, so we're not putting them back in the same position.
Thank you. Mayor Murdoch?
Yeah, thank you. And through you, Chair, just I'm trying to clarify in my head the difference between the rent fund model versus the homelessness prevention fund through the Victoria Foundation and Alliance to End Homelessness and those other tools that are out there that are sort of, so what's the dividing line between what one does and the other does in the region?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our loan capital is specifically for people who have like a one-time expense that has left them without the ability to pay rent for 1 month. So that one's repayable. And then we also have grant funding through Reaching Home. So if those are cases for when someone is not eligible for a loan, but is still at risk of being unhoused, we can provide them with a grant. And then for individuals who have chronic housing precarity, we can provide them with a rent subsidy, which is provided through the BC Housing, Canada BC Housing Benefit. And so that's up to, I believe, $750 per month that they can receive every month. There's no repayment, and it can just support them ongoing until funding runs out of the program. But I believe we're secured until mid-2026 for that program.
Okay, thank you. So for my clarification, was that being asked for here is for Oak Bay to fund a portion or a significant portion of the grant option?
Just the loans.
Just the loans, okay. And
Yes.
but those loans are repaid back to, just for my clarification here, so.
Yes, yeah, we use a cyclical funding model.
Okay,
And we obviously can't recuperate all the funds that we send out, but the hope is that the loan capital sent out is able to secure people's housing for long enough for them to make that repayment.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Thank you very much for being here tonight. Appreciate it. And for all the good work that you do. Our next organization is the Compost Education Center. Claire Remington, Executive Director, but I don't believe Claire is with us tonight. So we'll move on. The FED, Fed Urban Agriculture Group, Alistair Howes, who is Special Projects and Engagement Manager. I'm not sure that Mr. Howes is with us either. So we'll move on. Now, I do know there is someone in the audience that's with us tonight, and that's Margaret Lidke from Friends of Uplands Park. So, Margaret, please come forward.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try and speak in a loud voice because the only person I've heard tonight is... Okay, so now I can turn it on, okay? I'm using my teacher voice.
Okay,
Just
so-
back a little bit. Yeah.
Is that better?
Not too close. Yeah.
Okay, so Uplands Park is really important culturally because you want, Oak Bay Council is trying to create a relationship with the Songhees people, and the basic area where you can do that is with the land. Okay, that's really important. We are also internationally designated as a key biodiverse area. In fact, Friends of Uplands Park now work in all natural areas of Oak Bay, and 6 of those natural areas have been designated key biodiverse areas internationally. There's 9 in all of Greater Victoria, so that's 6 out of 9. This is higher than any other municipality in Canada. This is a really globally important designation, okay? So that is really important. It is also very, very important because of all of the other advantages that it has, okay? One of the things I've heard tonight because I actually have been hearing this as well, is about food. Food security is based on pollinators. Pollinators, insect pollinators and flowers have evolved together over the millennia. So the best food for natural pollinators, native pollinators, is the native plants. So all natural native plant areas are the nurseries for those pollinators, and those pollinators pollinate far better than honeybees do, even though a swarm of honeybees moved into my shed last year and swarmed last week. Okay, and I adore them deeply. Okay, so that's really, really important for food security. And another issue is a lot of our children are not being connected to the natural world, and I try to do that. That is my passion. In 2023, I was invited to the University of Alberta to talk to students and all the educators in the departments of agriculture, environmental studies, and forestry, because they were not getting people signing up for those courses. And what they recognized was the need to have young kids being connected to the natural world so that they feel at home and they love that area and will go on to then study that area and help protect it. And so that is absolutely critical for me for food security for Canada. Okay, it's also very critical in a city which depends on its gardens and its natural areas to attract tourists, because that is our main industry here. So I would appreciate $3,000. We didn't ask for any money last year, and $1,000 of that $3,000 was actually spent last year, and the check had not been cashed, okay? I'd also really like support on Cattle Point. It was promised by council before COVID ever happened, and then COVID happened, and we were about the only park in Greater Victoria to be opened, and everybody has discovered Uplands Park, Cattle Point, and we now have gravel areas where there used to be endangered plants. I really would like support in funding workers, to help put up an exclosure fencing so that it was very understandable about where the pathway should be. I also want to note that we are totally in support of the boardwalk going around and becoming a wheelchair accessible route going all around the park. We are very excited about that.
Margaret, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
And you know what? Your teacher voice worked, and we heard you loud and clear. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks for being here tonight and all the work you do. Okay, our next group are the Island String Players Society, Don Kissinger, and I believe Mr. Kissinger is here in person. Welcome, Mr. Kissinger. Sorry, were there any questions? Margaret, did she leave? No, she's still there. Are there any questions? No, I think you are so well known and the program is so well known. We don't have any questions. Thank you.
And I will never be a politician. It would scare the hell out of me.
Welcome, Mr. Kissinger.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mayor Murdoch, and Council. Island String Players has 2 main programs. One is the Victoria Chamber Orchestra, which performed at UVic about 10 days ago, Beethoven's Ninth, or Choral Symphony, and the other project that we run is Ravenbroke Summer Celebrations, which does about 6 free concerts throughout different municipalities. We have done that for 5 to 10 years here in Oak Bay at Esplanade Lawn, and we're going to do it again this year in August. I think the second Sunday in August. The players in Ravenbrook are professionals, and the local 247, that's the Musicians Union rate, is $140 per service. So we have 9 players in this group, and we also, besides, if you calculate it very roughly, 6 concerts plus 4 rehearsals to prepare for those concerts works, and we don't pay them. We have on 1 or 2 occasions paid them the going rate, but we're kind of aiming for $100, and with those. With the concert, that means 1 concert and some of that preparation time, rehearsal time. We are asking for $1,100 to do the concert this summer, and that's basically all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Patterson.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you, thank you for the presentation. I do know that the series is quite well attended, but I'm just wondering if you are able to track what the attendance is at the concert.
We don't usually track it. I roughly, I would say over the years, it's ranged from around 100 to 300, and it depends kind of on the weather and the kind of year. That's about all I can say. Although people do come, bring their families and have dinner beforehand and so on.
Are there any other questions? Thank you very much for being here, Mr. Kissinger. Thank you. And we will move on to the Maritime Museum of BC Society, Lauren Jackson, who I believe is the Schools and Program Manager, and she's here in person. Welcome, Lauren.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. Yes, my name is Lauren Jackson, and I am the School and Public Programs Manager at the Maritime Museum of BC. And I have the privilege of delivering the programs that we are asking for funding for today. And I have the privilege of seeing the impact that they have on the community of Oak Bay. So we are a small museum that's located downtown on Douglas Street, and we focus on engaging communities in Victoria and across British Columbia in witnessing and preserving maritime heritage. Living in Victoria, and in particular in Oak Bay, we have the privilege and responsibility of living close to the ocean on the traditional territories of the Lekwungen-speaking people, and it impacts our lives in innumerable ways. The school programs that we deliver at the Maritime Museum of BC bring kids from our local community, including from Oak Bay, into this work of understanding, preserving, and appreciating our maritime heritage while also connecting to the big ideas and curriculum competencies outlined in the BC curriculum. Since 2021, we have very kindly received funding from the District of Oak Bay, and that has allowed us to provide free school programs to Oak Bay schools so that more kids have the opportunity to enrich their learning by bringing classroom content to life in a museum program. This year, we are requesting $3,000 to cover the cost of 15 school programs. These programs can be delivered both at the museum as well as in the classroom, so us coming into the Oak Bay community. This past year, we were able to, with the funds from the District of Oak Bay, deliver 8 school programs to 185 students at Willows Elementary, Gonzales Preschool, and Oak Bay Co-op Preschool. But we had many more requests than that we unfortunately were not able to fill with the funds that we received. And that's why this year we are doubling our request amount to meet the need that we saw from the Oak Bay community. Not only does this funding remove financial barriers for families to do these programs, it costs about $150 to $200 per program, but by providing free programming, we also reduce the admin time for educators so that they can use all the time, energy, resources they have available to them to provide the best possible education for the kids in our communities. So these funds will go directly to the children of Oak Bay to supplement their classroom learning with informal learning experiences to help them create lifelong memories. I think many of us can recall class field trips that have stuck with us. And for some kids, this will be their only opportunity to visit a museum or cultural institution. I've seen with my own eyes the impact that these school programs have had on kids as they try a new skill like mending, connect an immigration story to one of their own heritage, or share with their class what they know about their favorite marine creature.
Lauren, I really appreciate. Can you wind up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so with your support, we hope to help the kids of Oak Bay create these lifelong memories and connect to the maritime life and history of their own communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. I'm sorry to interrupt you,
That's
but
okay, no worries.
we're trying to, people don't have to wait too long. Really appreciate it. Are there any questions from my colleagues? None? Thanks so much, and thanks for the work you do. The Martlet Publishing Society, Ray Dawson, and I believe Ray is the operations manager and is with us online. Welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I believe that the tech person was willing to put up the slides for me. Awesome, thank you so much. Awesome, hi everyone, I'm Ray Dawson. I'm the operations manager for the Martlet, which is the University of Victoria's independent student newspaper. Can switch the slide, please. The topics we're gonna cover in this presentation is what is the Martlet? We're gonna discuss the project proposal for this upcoming year. We'll discuss the project budget and then the desired impact of the project. Next slide, please. The Martlet is a registered nonprofit that has been UVic's source for independent news since 1948. We're actually older than the university itself, fun fact. The Martlet is considered independent because it is not under the control of any outside entity, not the university and not the UVic Student Society. This means we can cover issues and events that affect the local community with undue bias in favor of one of these governing bodies, unlike other UVic publications. Next slide, please. So last year we were lucky enough to receive this grant funding, which we used to fund our special climate issue of our paper that we release every November. This grant helped us cover the cost of printing, enhanced distribution to the community, such as Oak Bay, and an outreach event on campus that we called the Fill Your Cup event, where we provided coffee for people while they learned about the climate issue's contents and spoke to the writers and editors. This project helped the community identify and connect with the ways in which the climate crisis impacts our well-being on a systemic and individual level. And the currently requested funds will be used for a similar event as last year, with the added component of a climate change themed art competition for UVic students to get involved in which the Martlet will conduct a competition in early September for artists to submit their designs for climate change themed art prints that will be given away at our November Fill Your Cup event, which we will also be holding with these funds. The 4 winning artists will receive an $100 honorarium, and we will give approximately 50 copies of each unique print to be given away first come, first served basis to our community. Next slide, please. As you can see, this is our budget. We're requesting $1,900 to execute this project. The biggest budgetary expense is our printing our newspaper costs, followed by the 4 artist honorariums, then distribution costs, art printing, and then lastly, the coffee cambrios for the actual Fill Your Cup event. Next slide, please. Lastly, I'm just going to discuss the different desired impacts we have for this project. The first is to provide local solution-oriented climate reporting. Journalism is in a really contentious place globally at the moment. I think we can all agree, and it is more important than ever to have a reliable news source for our communities. The Martlet is fact-checked, locally owned, and is specific to both UVic and the Victoria local area. In particular, the annual climate edition that we released in November of the Martlet provides reporting on issues and solutions specific to places like Oak Bay. In a world where issues like climate change can feel really overwhelming and daunting, it is so essential that we offer our communities smaller scale and accessible ways to engage with the topic that centers solution-oriented thinking and local reporting. Secondly, the desired outcome of this project would be to support local emerging artists, especially young emerging artists. As the budget for the arts in Victoria and UVic shrinks dramatically, it is essential to create a funded opportunity for local emerging artists to create socially relevant art and for art to be accessible to the public cost-wise. This funding will provide opportunities for young artists and free, accessible art for the public. Art not only is essential to the culture and draw of our beautiful home, but to the well-being of our communities. This funding will enable the Martlet to use its vast reach to create a unique opportunity for young emerging artists.
Ray,
Lastly,
Ray, sorry, you're at 3.5 minutes. Can you wind up quickly?
Yeah, I totally can. Lastly,
Thank you.
Yeah, no problems. We'll promote stewardship solidarity between UVic and Oak Bay. As the Martlet, we totally understand that the natural environment and cultural scene that Oak Bay values, simply because we are an integral part of it. And we would like to work with you guys to closely hold stewardship in our mind as a collective community. So thank you so much to the council and to the mayor for your consideration and for your continued support. And I really hope to continue working with you guys going forward.
Thanks for being here with us. And I'll just ask my colleagues if they have any questions. Councillor Watson, Mayor Murdoch.
Thank you. A question to our presenter. Ray, do you do other special issues during the year? And if so, what is your funding model for that? How would it compare to the particular special issue you're asking us to support?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the question. Yeah, we also have a special annual sex and gender issue that we release every February. We haven't been able to receive any special funding for that, unfortunately. So typically our funding looks like any other print news cycle that we have, which is funded typically in majority by membership fees. And then the rest of our budget is typically made up of grant monies, which can be slightly unpredictable, especially as funding for journalism is significantly shrinking. But the biggest impact that we would like to have with the climate edition with the funding that you guys would offer is that we would be able to hold the Fill Your Cup event, which would, I think, promote more conversation and interaction with this climate edition as a community event, as a community outreach to connect different people. People get the opportunity to discuss with our writers and editors about the process of writing and the people they talk to, where they got their ideas from, where they're getting their own news sources on things like climate change. And I think that's really essential. And in addition, we typically only print about 3,000 copies, print copies per edition, but for our special edition, we do 3,500 copies. So we have a couple extra copies in there, which also means higher costs for us when we have a very tight budget. We're a nonprofit. Most of our membership fees go towards staffing, which is for our young journalists. But yeah, having the money would mean that we could have a bigger outreach event, have more copies for both UVic and the wider community. We distribute to Oak Bay, downtown Victoria, Short Space Ferry Terminal. But yeah, that would be the biggest difference.
Thank you. Mayor Murdoch?
I guess a couple of questions. One question that's been at this table a couple of times, and just maybe would appreciate your answer to it, and that is, the University of Victoria has its own funding, has much bigger budgets than we do, and frankly, its small amount that it gives us as a payment in lieu of taxes is shrinking year over year over year. I think this ask of yours is about 3% of what we get from them, to give you some indication of the scale. So just curious about maybe just the rationalization of asking the district for money on this rather than some other sources like the university where the benefit is primarily going. And second, maybe you can just touch on briefly, there has been a fair bit of debate in the country about the merits or not of governments directly funding journalism. Just curious if your thoughts on that in this ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for those questions. To answer your first question, so we're a nonprofit and completely independent from the university. So we actually receive no funding beyond just membership fees, student membership fees. We get $375 per student, full-time student, and I believe $150 per part-time student. So our operating costs aren't subsidized by the university at all. We do receive some funding through the work study program from the university, but it's very, very limited. But otherwise, it is like a conflict of interest for us, for the most part, to take money from the university. So we actually don't receive any funding directly from UVic beyond just our membership fees, which is actually through the UVSS and has been previously negotiated. So that's why we're approaching Oak Bay Council as opposed to the University of Victoria, is because we're actually have some ethical journalism things that kind of come into play when we get funding from the university. To answer your second question, I think it's very important to note that the media does exist to hold power to account, and that includes government systems, and that can lead to a lot of conflict. But I also think that specifically in the case of the climate edition, especially, local reporting is so essential to battling people's climate anxiety. I think everyone is feeling nervous, shaken up about what's happening in the world right now. And I think that in a world where it's even harder and harder to know who you can trust, what news is real, what's not, fact checking, all those sorts of things, I think funding locally sourced journalism that speaks directly to the community's need, the Oak Bay community's need, for solution-oriented climate journalism is so important. I also think that quite a few of our readers and students who work for us and participate in writing the Martlet live in Oak Bay and are Oak Bay residents. And it provides opportunities to people in Oak Bay to rise into journalism, into newspapers. And yeah, I think that, I'm sorry, I trailed off.
That's great. No, that's great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dodson, and thanks for taking a couple of tough questions, too, from our mayor, actually. Anyway, thank you so much for being here, and the Martlet, I was a graduate of UVic for 2 degrees, in fact, and it's still there, and it's still going strong, and it's great to see. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
We'll move on to the needs to crisis intervention. Sandy Hodson, Operations Manager, is online. Are you there, Sandy?
Hello.
Welcome. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Council. So I'm the Operations Manager at Need To. We're a local nonprofit here in Victoria focused on suicide prevention and breaking the stigma around mental health. We do this through our support group for adults bereaved by suicide loss, our community trainings, and our in-school workshops. We're seeking funding to support our in-school programs. So we run mindfulness programs in elementary and middle schools, grade 4 and 6. The idea of these programs is to introduce students to tangible skills and practices that they can use to manage difficult emotions and build resilience. And then as we move into grade 8 and high school, we deliver our suicide education and awareness workshops, which work to demonstrate how we can normalize having open conversations about mental health and suicide. It gives the student skills to recognize mental health struggle in themselves as well as their peers, and helps bring awareness to the resources and supports that are available to them, both in their school and the broader community. So this funding would help to support our program by supporting supplies we need, covering facilitator travel costs, as well as making the workshops more accessible to the schools that we serve.
Thank you so much. That was the best time all night. I'm now going to turn it to my colleagues for questions. Thanks very much. Councillor Patterson?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you, thank you so much for the presentation. Just could you perhaps just advise us of the schools in Oak Bay that you would interact with?
Yeah, so we have done workshops at Monterey, as well as we really hit pretty much all middle schools in SG 61. As well as we have been in Vic High. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thanks very much for being with us tonight and for all the work you do. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Moving on to the Newcomb Singers, Marilyn Crump, who is the grant lead. And I believe Marilyn's here in person. Welcome.
It's very helpful. Thank you very much. It's very nice to be with you tonight. I represent the Newcomb Singers Association. We are a nonprofit choir, nonprofit society, but a nonprofit choir, and we are based in Oak Bay. We rehearse and we perform at St. Mary's Church on Elgin Street. And we're really rather proud of our long existence. We were formed in 1967, which is long. Oh, golly, I was a teenager then. We are a non-auditioned choir of complete amateurs, mostly, and we are a community choir. So we welcome everyone in the community. That is the greater Victoria community, but we have learned, possibly because of our location, 40% of our choir members, and we had about 75 choir members this spring, live in Oak Bay. And we're very, very accessible to them. Some of our members actually walk to choir practices. We're also very accessible to the people who live in Oak Bay for our concerts, and they're almost always at St. Mary's Church. I don't know how long that has been. So we're very much a local choir, our local choral experience. But in addition to being a community choir, we're a choir community. We try to be very welcoming, very friendly. A great many of the people in our choir, not going to say everyone, but great many are retired. They are very, very blonde, as I am. And we try to be a very solid and kind community, a very welcoming community. So if anyone wants to learn to sing, wants to be in a choir, wants to sing with that community, we welcome you. And your level of, your experience and level of ability is really quite irrelevant. There are many ways of being a team, and we try very hard to be a team. We have a remarkable new conductor, music director, Dr. Catherine Whitney, a local Victoria girl who went to Oxford University and wound up with, I believe, 2 PhDs in music. She taught there and she taught at Cambridge, but she's come back to Victoria and she loves working with amateur singers. So through Catherine's initiative and what I'm asking for specific funding for, we had a concert called Ocean. This is my high-tech, low-tech stuff. Ocean concerts, which actually just happened at the beginning of May. We had 2 concerts. And we worked in collaboration with the Shaw Center for the Salish Sea. And they brought their ambassadors of the sea. And the focus of the concert was to sing music about the sea, about the animals in the sea. We sang some very interesting things. Catherine has brought the choir along remarkably in a very short time. She's been our director since 2022, and she challenges us to sing new and interesting music. So we sang, and I've got the program here, we sang a piece in Inuktitut, and we sang, it was just called Kilak. We sang a traditional Irish piece called Dulaman, which is seaweed. And we also encourage, and I'm not going to use the word employ, but we do engage young musicians and musicians who are not professional yet to play with us, to come with us, singers and instrumentalists. So we had a young, extraordinarily talented 13-year-old young man named Max Francis, I believe. Yes, Max Francis played the bodhran for sea, Dulaman. We also sang a piece in Afrikaans from South Africa, and another piece, The Body of the Moon, which was text from the letters of Galileo. So,
Marilyn,
yes,
thank you so much. I'm sorry, I don't like this job at all.
I know.
And I was always taught not to interrupt other people.
I totally understand.
It's terrible. So
just to let you know, though, that's what we've specifically asked funding for.
Right.
It's already happened.
Well,
I will address the elephant in the room. It happened already. But any funding that we do receive from Oak Bay would be very appreciated, and it will go towards purchasing music and hiring other musicians and others to sing with us.
Thank you so much for sharing the information with us. It's really helpful, and keep singing.
It's very, very important.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now I have to go to. You see, I'm rattled now.
Questions?
Councillor Smart.
I'm just fading a little. That's my problem.
Well, I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't mind answering some questions.
No, not at
Councillor
all.
Smart.
No.
Oh, thank you.
Hi.
I heard such rave reviews about the concert. I was
Oh,
so
how
sad to miss it.
wonderful. It was really good.
My question is just with regards to because at this council table and the district supports the Arts Commission at the CRD.
Yes.
And so that funding, I wondered if you could just clarify today the funding that you may or may not have received from the CRD Arts Commission already, because that is already funding from Oak Bay, just so that this
Yes.
table is aware of the funding that we have
Yes.
already contributed when we
yes.
make our decisions about contributing
Yes.
additional funds. If you could clarify that.
We are
appreciate it.
very, very new at applying for funding, and we applied to this year. This is the second year in the row. I'm kind of their own first and only grant person. Well, not totally first, but and we did receive $4,000 from the CRD Arts and Council funding. Yeah, I'm glad you heard good things about the concert. There are more to come.
Thank you. I have Mayor Murdoch with a question.
That was the same question. Thank you.
Same question. Okay.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you. So we'll move on now to the Oak Bay Heritage Foundation and Robert Taylor. And I don't believe Mr. Taylor's with us tonight, or is he online? No? Okay, we'll move on. Now, the Oak Bay Lawn Bowling Club, Lauren Cowley and Lauren Charlton, President and Second Vice President, and they're both in person. Thank you for being with us.
Good evening. My name is Lauren Cowley. I'm a member of the executive committee of the Oak Bay Lawn Bowling Club. Oak Bay Lawn Bowling Club rents the lawn bowling facility from the district in Carnarvon Park and has had since 1954. The Oak Bay Lawn Bowling pays for all maintenance and greenskeeping to a tune of, our budget is $100,000 a year, and the members pay for all that. Members provide all the volunteers' work. And in our buildings, we have 5 washrooms that are pretty tired. They require some repair, plumbing, drywall, paint, flooring, lighting. And we would like to request $5,150 to help pay for all this. The biggest one is the flooring. It needs a lot of work. Nevertheless, the volunteers at the club will do the labor, all the painting, and all the stuff that's required. And I'm an electrical contractor. I'll take out the electrical permits, etc. Anything required for that. Nevertheless, there's some work that needs to be done within the plumber, within the washrooms. So that's what we would request from the district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are you going to speak, Ms. Charlton?
Sure.
I could just say that we have a membership.
Could you use the microphone, please? That would be helpful.
Just hit the bottom button.
Thank you.
I could also add that we have a membership of upwards of 200 members, and the club is active all year round. In the winter, we have social activities and indoor short mat inside. And all through the year, in the bowling months, we have BSI, Bowl South Island tournaments and whatnot, and our own tournaments that occur. So the washrooms are used very often by visiting members of other clubs and our own members. And the club also allows our members, who've been members sometimes for many, many years, to sort of age in place. So they may be very active and competitive in bowling, and then they can ease down to just tournaments in-house and social bowls, and then maybe croquet, and then into indoor activities. But they've built this community so it still supports them through that stage.
That sounds like a great plan for council, sort of aging and, yeah.
That's right.
That would be good. Are there any other questions? Councillor Smart.
Thank you. Just looking through the application in question through you, Acting Chair. It's just with regards to, could you just more specifically describe the projects that happened last year. There's kind of a general category of things, but I'm just curious specifically how the money was spent last year, if you can add a little bit more detail.
Through our budget, you're talking about?
Well, it was just how last year, I understand you received, I think it was $4,500 last year, and I was just curious more.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago. And
2 years ago, okay.
We removed the 30-year-old high-pressure sodium metal the lighting, and we replaced it all with LED lighting. So we've leasehold improvement. You've got new lighting. And over the last year, we've put new sun shelters in. It cost $40,000 and well over 600 hours of volunteer time, digging, painting, everything else the contractor allowed us to build. And by the way, our building permit process was wonderful. They were so helpful, so fast, and they were just a pleasure to work with. Nevertheless, and the sun shelters are really quite beautiful. Our greenskeeping is our biggest expense, and our equipment, we're about $50,000 in equipment or more, and we have to replace that on a regular basis. And so that's our biggest cost, is greenskeeping. And so we look after basically everything, all the greens, all the verges. We replace whatever is necessary. And so we just would like to have a little bit of help in fixing the bathrooms. They're getting pretty tired. The baseboards our baseboard heaters are rusty, and the P-traps are leaking, and and there's stains on the floors. And nevertheless, thank you.
Thank you. Gee, anyway, I know how enthusiastic and how active you are, and what a community you have created. It's wonderful. So I know that the Oak Bay Lawn Bowling Club is it's a real gem. So thank you for being here tonight and for the information. Any other questions? Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, just a question about your membership fees. How often you review them and when you last increased them?
Our membership fees are $150 for the first year as new members, and the continuing is $350 per person. And it was increased
2 years ago.
2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago, because we had a shortfall. We had some legacy money that was donated to the club from people passing away, and some of that money was used to rebuild to build the new sun shelters. But we were using that money actually to run the club, so we had to fill that back in. So $350 a year for a full year of total access for many, many, many things to do.
And also we offer a $350 family membership, a family of 4 for their first year to try it out.
Yeah, we're trying to get new people.
And if in my follow-up, when you had that fee increase, what was that percentage-wise? What was the fee before? Or maybe you can't calculate that, but what was the fee before that?
We went from $250 to $350.
Well, thank you very much. Any other questions? Thanks for being with us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
I now have online the treasurer, Mr. Stephen Spooner, of the Oak Bay Old Boys Soccer. Are you with us, Mr. Spooner? Oh, welcome.
Unfortunately, I don't have a teacher's voice. I have a treasurer's voice, I guess, so I hope you're hearing me loud and clear.
Speak as loudly as you can.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
That's quite right. Thank you for the opportunity to present our grant application to you. In the email, it said 3 to 5 minutes, but I'll try and keep it as close to the 3 as possible. So I am Stephen Spooner, the treasurer of the Oak Bay's Old Boys Association. There's just 3 pages, and it just shows the who, what, and why for this grant application. So if IT can move to the who page for me, thank you so much. So really the name says it all. The team is an Oak Bay institution. It's existed in its current form since 1993, but it really started 50 years ago in the 1970s. So didn't quite make it to 67 like the choir, but there we go. We play recreational soccer in we call it the most experienced division of the Classic League, which is over 56 years of age. And our team members contribute in many ways to the Oak Bay community. We someone else said, we live, work and play, but we also shop and volunteer in Oak Bay. We have several long-term squad members. As the graph on the lower side of the page shows, half our current squad will be 70 or older next season. Go to the next page, thank you. So what is our grant and aid request? The $1,500 to assist in the purchase of an automated external defibrillator, an AED, for pitch side use. So we know we're fortunate to continue to play as we get older. It helps us to stay healthy and provides companionship. We hope to never need an AED. You had a previous presenter that talked about an event that had already happened. Well, very fortunately, we haven't had an event that has happened, but as our team and our opponents get older, the risk is increasing. So the AED is like an insurance policy. It's really just in case. Some playing fields have AEDs in nearby facilities, but this application is for a pitch side unit. So for example, the Oak Bay High School turf has an AED in the rec center, which is perfect for an incident in the pool or the gym, but it is several valuable minutes to get there and back from the soccer pitch, and that assumes no access issues. And it isn't just our own squad that will benefit. We'll make the AED available to other teams during the regular season and at the end of the year tournament. And the very last page here. Thank you. So there's a $2,500 estimated cost overall, but we're requesting a grant for $1,500, so 60% of the total, and we'll fund the balance ourselves out of our reserves. The request aligns quite literally with your grant policy to promote wellness, vitality, and spirit. And it says at the bottom there, we all like a story with a happy ending. So here's the story just to close things off. At this season's end of year tournament in April, we were short a couple of players. We borrowed one from our affiliate Bays. And the only reason he was able to play for us is because an AED helped save his life 3 years ago. He collapsed during a practice. There was an AED 20 yards away. He was saved after 2 attempts to restart his heart. And after a long rehabilitation, he's back playing the game he loves with friends who helped save him. Hope that's everything that you need to know, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation and for a very compelling story at the end. Are there any questions from my colleagues? I have Councillor Watson.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, if you were just listening, I'm going to ask the same question of you as I just asked to the last presenter. What are your membership fees and when did you last adjust them?
The answer is that they're $150 for if you're a full-time member and $75 if you're a part-time member. And I'm afraid I just became treasurer this year and I do not know when they were last adjusted. I'm sorry to tell you.
Thank you. If you could explain, what's the difference between a full-time and a part-time member?
We count somebody who's a part-time if they only play for half the season.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? And Mr. Spooner, your voice carried well, so we heard you well. Thank you so much, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on then. Thank you. I'm moving on to the Oak Bay Sea Rescue Society, Brock Smith, and I believe Mr. Smith is online with us tonight. Welcome.
How's that volume?
That's pretty good.
Excellent.
If you can speak just a little closer, maybe to your microphone.
Do that. Absolutely. So my name is Brock Smith, and I am the president of the Oak Bay Sea Rescue Society. We are the society that financially supports Oak Bay's RCM SAR Station 33, the Royal Canadian Marine Search and Rescue across all 31 stations, conducted 499 missions last year and saved 78 people. We are the charity that saves lives on the water. Next slide. The Oak Bay Station 33 has, I think we're up to actually 55 volunteer crew members. We run 8 5-member crews so that we are on call 24/7, 365 days a year. Last year, typically we respond to 36 to 48 annual taskings. and in 2024 we saved 7 lives. We patrol, or at least we're responsible for the area between Victoria and Sydney. There are stations in Sydney and Victoria that go the other direction. And so we have a fairly broad territory that we're responsible for. And if any of you are boaters or on the water, you'll know that the winds in Oak Bay are sometimes strong and the currents are strong. And there are surprisingly a number of unmarked rocks out there that people tend to hit. So we are, and these taskings are often rescuing paddleboarders and kayakers and canoeists, but often it's also large vessels that catch on fire, run aground, or otherwise sink. And so the Oak Bay Sea Rescue Society does the fiscal management. We do the fundraising. Next slide. We are back this year to request additional funding to support the purchase of a FLIR infrared camera. This camera is a high definition, low light camera that uses multispectral imaging, which allows us to see objects in the water at night much better than the previous technology. We're able to see 4 to 5 times further and with greater resolution. And that's important in being able to distinguish a person from a seal. And we're able to rescue people faster with this new technology. Last year, we came to you and you were gracious to provide $5,000 towards the purchase of this unit. By the time we secured the funding, the price went up 30%. So it is now $36,000. And we are coming to you to look for an additional $6,000 to support that purchase. The rest of the money coming from BC Gaming, from our own fundraising. We generate, for example, about $1,500 by serving bear nut beef sandwiches at the Oak Bay Tea Party, as well as some other fundraising efforts. So that's our request, and that's what we do, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from my colleagues? No, I don't see any questions. Thank you so much for being here and for all the information. And as a former boater, I know how valuable the service is. Really appreciate all you do for local waters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. And we're going to move on now to the Peninsula Stream Society, Sue Jallet. And I don't know if Ms. Jallet is with us, either online or in person. I don't think so, so we'll go on. The next one is St. Christopher's Montessori School. And it's Lisa Grant. And again, I don't know if Ms. Grant is with us or online. She apparently not. So we will move on to Surfrider Foundation of Canada. And I believe Katie Keats is with us, the beach cleanup manager. And thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I do have my presentation on there somewhere. Great. So as mentioned, my name is Katie. I'm the beach cleanup program manager for Surfrider Foundation Canada. We are part of a global organization that focuses on the protection and enjoyment of the world's oceans, waves, and beaches for all people through a powerful activist network. We've got 5 focus areas, which are clean water, ocean protection, plastic pollution, coasts and climate, and beach access. We do that mostly through volunteer initiatives. So we have an irreplaceable network of volunteers that are scattered around British Columbia and across the coast. Our network is continuously growing, which is really incredible. So they're the boots on the ground that really help us to carry out our mission through our various programs and advocacy activities. So we've got chapters based in Vancouver, Pacific Rim up in Tofino and Ucluelet, South Vancouver Island, which is based here on the South Island, of course, and Atlantic over in Halifax. We've got clubs at the University of Victoria, Vancouver Island University, University of Toronto, Ucluelet Secondary School, and our newest Mount Douglas Secondary School program as well. So activities that are more relevant to Oak Bay, our South Vancouver Island chapter has been operating in the Victoria region and by extension in Oak Bay for the last 18 years. Over that, I think we're actually 19 years this year. We provide various environmental services like shoreline cleanups, water quality monitoring, youth education. We increase public awareness, public access to fresh water, and then we lead advocacy campaigns to address plastic pollution. We work with municipalities, provincial government, and federal government to address plastic pollution in various forms. And then the University of Victoria Student Club also hosts several shoreline cleanups at Willows Beach. They actually reached our record high of participants this year at the end of last year with over 200 participants that joined Willows Beach to clean it up. And then again, in January, we had well over 150 people join with our South Vancouver Island chapter. So a lot of people coming out to clean Willows. So as I mentioned, our volunteers host several beach cleanups each year. And with that, they remove roughly 60 kilograms, which is about 150 pounds of debris from Oak Bay coastlines each cleanup.
And Katie, you're at the 3-minute mark.
I'm moving. I'm almost there.
Okay.
Our cleanups are open to the public and anyone is welcome to join. So next steps, what we're kind of addressing this year is we're trying to provide more opportunities for people to join our cleanups, and so increasing accessibility and inclusion for these people. There currently doesn't exist any beach cleanup programs that target folks with disabilities, whether it be mental health or physical disabilities, and so we're looking to address that. What we have asked in our proposal is actually our operating costs for operating in Oak Bay, which is $9,000. That includes all of our cleanups that we do. So we do about half a dozen cleanups in Oak Bay every year. That is for staff costs, insurance, feeding our volunteers, training our volunteers, and the like.
Thank you. That's great.
And yeah, that's the end there. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Any questions from council? I have Mayor Murdoch and Councillor Smart.
Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, tremendous work that your organization does. My question is just around the specifics of the ask.
Yeah.
We have an ask in front of us of 10,000. I'm looking at the financial, which is 9,000, but you also have a secured amount of $1,700 towards that already. So
yes,
can we just, because it seems like you're asking for 10, and the total amount if we paid for everything would be 9. I just want to make sure I'm clear about the rationale.
That is most likely a typo, and so I apologize for that. Okay. The granting landscape is changing, so we are basically, putting out a lot, and I think that my math just translated wrong.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's why we have a chance to ask questions. Thank you
very
much.
Of course.
Thanks, and I have Councillor Smart.
Thank you. This is fantastic to hear more details about your organization, and I guess Mayor Murdoch did take one of my questions, but my other one is just with regards to the communication, and you maybe half answered it, but there are a lot of different groups in the community that regularly go out and steward and take care of the beaches. It seems to me like on my email, there's opportunities every few months where it's like, oh, we're cleaning up this beach or whatever. I wonder, how do you communicate to be most impactful with the timing of your beach cleanups versus maybe what other organizations or schools are already doing? You spoke a little bit to that, but I wondered if you could expand upon that.
So our volunteer groups, specifically our South Vancouver Island chapter and University of Victoria Club, operate monthly beach cleanups. So University of Victoria, obviously through the school year, but the South Vancouver Island chapter operates year-round, and they do monthly cleanups, so the second Sunday of every month. We're the only organization that does it annually for as far as I know, mostly because we get fewer people coming out in the winter months, more in the summer, and that's when school groups and other groups tend to do that. We also facilitate a lot of those cleanups. So a lot of schools won't actually, they come to us, we help them with that, we provide them with equipment. So a lot of the groups that are going out and doing various cleanups in Oak Bay are actually using our equipment and our resources. So it's not often advertised. We are really trying to help to support those. And so, and then if our volunteers have the time to go out and do them, then they're the ones that are out there doing that as well. So there is a lot of opportunity, yes, outside of Surfrider, but I think that, from what I've seen over the last about 8 years that I've been involved, is that we're the ones that are doing most of the cleanups in the region for sure.
Thank you.
Just one follow-up question. I just wondered, does the ask for funding from the District of Oak Bay represent a loss of funding from someone else, or does it represent an increase of service that is being offered? Thank you.
Definitely both to an extent, but more towards the first. So we were previously funded. My position basically came about. I was a volunteer for many years before becoming staff, and we were funded predominantly our entire beach cleanup program through the Clean Coast, Clean Waters Initiative through the province of BC. Unfortunately, they have decided to not follow through on their funding this year, so many shoreline cleanup programs are severely impacted by this loss of funding. So we're just trying to reach out to the municipalities and areas that we operate in to try to leverage some of that back for us.
Thank you so much, Katie. Any other questions? Thank you for all the work you do. It's really important and significant. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for being here. We now go to, and I'm just looking at the time, it's 10 to 10. We may or may not need an extension, but I'm sure somebody will wave at me if we do. It's the UVic Student Society Food Bank and Free Store, and Leila Casado, Human Resources and Administrative Services Manager, is with us online. Welcome, Leila.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for this opportunity. Can you please go to the next slide? Perfect. I'm here to represent the UVSS Food Bank. The UVSS Food Bank, it is a service offered by the University of Victoria Student Society. So we are the student union. We are not UVic, and we are not funded by UVic. We haven't been in place, the Student Society, since 1964, but the food bank was created in 2000. And it was created as a small pantry, as an emergency service for students that were experiencing food insecurity on campus. But it grew a lot on the last 4 years, and we are now one of the most well-known and used service on campus. So we serve low-income UVic students. They can be undergraduate, graduate students, or part of the continuing studies students. And we also serve their family. So we have different hamper styles and with different size for students that are individuals or if they are there with a partner and dependents. The way we operate right now is we operate as a grocery style food bank. So students come in, they have limits that they can pick, but they can choose throughout the space what they want to pick from their selection. So they can choose from canned food, bulk items, fresh vegetables and fruits, or dairy products. The next slide, please. So we are here asking for your support to be able to keep up with the increase in demand. I put some numbers for you on the left side. In 2021, we offer 5,856 hampers, and in 2024, we offer over 16,000 hampers. Students can pick up hampers once per week. They have to register, and we help about 400 students every week. So I'm not the first one to talk about food insecurity. That is one of the biggest challenges we couldn't have. The demand is increasing, it's not stopping. And while we are funded by student fees pay $2.25 per student per semester. That's not enough to keep up with the demand. So that's why we are here asking for external funding. Next slide, please. So what is in a hamper? I have a list. I'm not going to read through, but we offer nutritious, culturally appropriate foods. We offer basic hygiene items, and we offer fresh produce. Due to this high demand and the limiting funding, we have been cutting some of those amounts. So there are products that we don't offer anymore unless we receive them from donations or if we get a specific grant to address that specifically product.
Leila, Leila,
yes.
Excuse me, you're just over 3 minutes.
Okay, perfect. So just to finalize, your support is going to go directly to the purchase of like grocery items and specifically to fresh produce, which is the most demanded items that we have. And next slide, please. And just to talk about impact, UVic is located between Oak Bay and Saanich, and we have students that live there. You know, we seeing increasing burden other community food banks or service if we are not serving our students. And of course, we want to keep students in the area and being able to afford to live in the area. Thank you. I appreciate your
Thank you very much, and thank you for all you do, and thanks for being with us. Are there any questions? I don't see any questions, but thank you for being with us online and for all of the information. It's really helpful. And you're doing some really important work, obviously. Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm looking at the clock. I think we might want a motion to extend for 15 minutes.
I'll move to extend the meeting for 15 minutes.
Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? We will extend the meeting to 10:20. Thank you. I'm moving on now. Sorry? Oh, 10:15, sorry, 10:15. Sorry, moving on to the Vancouver Island South Film and Media Commission, Tara-Lee Novak. I believe she's with us. Thank you, welcome. Sorry for the long wait. Oh, don't go to sleep until you do your presentation. Thank you. Oh, your kids, okay, sorry, I thought you meant your own, sorry. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I was actually here just a few weeks ago. They say that people need to hear things 7 times before it solidifies, so I'll come back 5 more times this year. But I just wanted to talk tonight about our grant and aid application. So this slide is just our mandate. We heard a lot of noble causes here tonight, and the Film Commission's role is to attract major film projects to generate income within the economy. So in 2023, Oak Bay generously invested $10,000 in the Film Commission, and in return, the Motion Picture Association reported spending $10 million in Oak Bay and Gordon Head across 215 South Island businesses. So that's how the numbers cracked out in 2023. Still waiting for the 2024 numbers. But I'm here tonight to talk about what 2025 is looking like. So next slide, please. We're off to a really great, encouraging start. So I think last time I was here, I talked about Private Eyes, West Coast. This is Jason Priestley's program. It spent 5 seasons in Toronto, and Jason Priestley's character moves from Toronto to Victoria. So this is a really, really rare opportunity for the Greater Victoria region to appear as itself. It almost never ever happens. So this is a really exciting time. They are going to, they're converting a space into a soundstage, and they'll start filming shortly. Sideline 2 was another movie of the week for Tubi. Since I actually made this slide 2 weeks ago, there's been 2 more sort of hallmark movie of the week. So a total of 4 movie of the weeks. And A Bad Day at Camp Trivoli. Now that is the working title of a major feature of a major production company that's happening right now. I can't say much more than that, except that it's really great for the region. So lots and lots of exciting things are happening right now. And it's really important that we have 2 full-time employees, myself and Maureen, and we have 2 part-time employees. It's really important that one of us is there to pick up the phone and to make these things happen. Next slide, please. This is a small thing, but we had an electric battery workshop on April 15th. I think film sometimes feels exclusive, but what it is like an accelerator for community projects. So electric batteries, electric generators are the future for film, but what it also means is that we can film in Oak Bay with quieter and cleaner power sources. I would love nothing more than to see an electric tie-in in Oak Bay Marina. That's where all the circuses and the film trucks are. So you know, film triggers these programs or these activities, but the rest of the community can benefit because then you have an electric tie-in for public events in the same area. So I want to talk to you more at a different time about the $10,000 grant that you can get just for a feasibility study. And those who were in attendance, I invited all the film liaisons across the 14 municipalities and the local First Nations. Those who were in attendance have started those conversations about the grants, but I'd love to ensure that Oak Bay also has that opportunity. Next slide, please. I showed this recently. On average, film generates 60 million here in the region. That's the annual average spend. And over the last 5 years, the film sector has created 4,300 jobs across 167 productions. So it's really important to our economy. We know a lot of people work for the government here in the South Island. Film is really important for diversifying the economy. Next slide, please. You know, tax incentives, you've probably seen a lot of it. There's a lot of investment from the province. Next slide, please. You know what, I'm going to skip over this one. We know that Trump, he talked about tariffs, but just for your own peace of mind, films are intellectual property. They are not a good. There are a variety of people who provide services to create the projects. So we're going to monitor the situation, but we're not scared.
Tara, I'm going to ask you to...
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So can I just see the next slide for a prompt, please? Okay, so just a final note. It's not just films. Our office is creating destination development. People call us because they want a place to house 300 bikers for their cycling race. We have 2,500 location files. We can set tourism up. We can set films up. We are asking for an increased investment this year. We have a very, very tight operating budget that covers 5 human beings and rent and all the things that you need to run a business. We're a nonprofit. That's it.
Thank you very much for the great information.
Thank you.
I think most of us are very familiar with the work you do and appreciate it as well. Are there any questions? Councillor Smart, Mayor Murdoch.
Thank you, and thanks for the presentation. Of course, everyone around this table knows how valuable the film industry is, particularly to Oak Bay. When we're having to make a decision at this table for what's the right size grant funding when we have so little funding to distribute amongst so many people, I notice, of course, proportionately that Oak Bay's funding versus other municipalities, like if you were to do it on a population basis, is obviously doesn't, like it's not, we're funding a lot more than other municipalities of a similar size. I would fathom that's due to the fact that we have increased film production in Oak Bay, but I wondered if you could comment a little bit more on how $15,000 is the right size funding for Oak Bay.
Yeah, so I'm new-ish in the role. I started in September, and I liked the advice I got that $1 per head feels like a good starting place for a nonprofit of this size. And so if you have 18,000 people, $15,000 isn't quite $1 a head. City of Victoria, I offer this information just for food for thought. I don't mean to draw comparisons, but there are cities that sponsor us $45,000, $35,000, and that does help us ensure someone's on the phone calls to advance these projects. So on average across the GVRD, we take about 20 cents per person for that population across the GVRD. It's a very, very, very tight operating budget.
Thank you. Mayor Murdoch?
Basically the same questions. Good, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, thank you so much for being here and for waiting so long. I'm going to move on now to the Victoria Sexual Assault Center. Alicia Sands, Resource Development and Communications Manager, and Alicia's with us online, I believe. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, well, good evening rather, and thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you. I'd like to thank you also for your support in the past years for Victoria Sexual Assault Center. You help us to provide free services to survivors of sexualized violence and historical child abuse. So that, services like counseling, medical and judicial services, and to provide community-based advocacy projects. I hope you're hearing me okay. My service has been on and off all evening long, so please let me know if you're not hearing me.
Is it possible for you to speak up just a little bit?
Sure.
Thank you.
So this year we're applying for $5,000 to provide partial coverage of salaries for our victim services program. This project supports clients that choose to access the judicial system. As you can imagine, it's challenging, difficult, and confusing understanding how the court systems work. Survivors who are dealing with emotional trauma, stigma, and financial restraints will receive assistance from our victim service workers to navigate the system, the judicial system. Every year, 200 to 250 people access our victim services program. About 4 to 4.5% of them are from Oak Bay. Our workers are often dealing with several cases at the same time. Many of these cases could last several months or longer, and at times there could be more than one survivor that they're dealing with for a case. So as you can imagine, it's very challenging for our victim services workers. Currently, well, up until recently, we only had 2 full-time persons covering this program. They need a break every now and then because of the vicarious trauma that they experience, the long hours, and it can be very challenging for them. I'm hoping, I haven't discussed a lot about Victoria Sexual Assault Center. We've applied in previous years. I'm happy to answer any questions about our services. We hope that you'll kindly consider our application, and thank you so much for the opportunity to apply and present to you this evening.
Alicia, thank you so much for being here with us tonight and for the information. Are there any questions from my council colleagues? I don't see any questions. I think that may be because many of us are familiar with the work you're doing, which is really important work, and thank you for that. But thanks for making the time to present tonight.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too. We have only two left for those of you still waiting. So Where to Start Society 2025, Zoe Wells, and I believe Zoe is here in person. Welcome. Again, sorry for the long wait.
I'm always last, so I'm not absolutely last this time. So my name is Zoe Wells, and I'm here on behalf of Where to Start. This is our first time applying to Oak Bay for funding. So just briefly, if you're not familiar with what Where to Start does, we provide clothing, personal care items to any self-identified women in the South Island that require assistance. So basically we have people refer clients from other nonprofits, so Work BC, Transition House, Bridges, basically any service providers, food banks, anywhere from here to Souk. And then the clients come in and they are able to have a 1-hour personal appointment in our boutique, and they walk out with a whole new wardrobe, including shoes, accessories, jewelry, undergarments, bras, and they also have the ability to have a haircut if that's something that's necessary. But our volunteers provide much more than just clothing. It's a way to essentially give these individuals some empowerment, self-confidence that they didn't have when they walked in the door. And that's the favorite part of the program. When I see the transformation, it's absolutely amazing. My application today was for a program called Care for You. That is the part of the program that provides those personal care items. It's an equity-driven initiative, and we provide those personal hygiene items for women who are, experiencing homelessness, domestic violence, seeking to re-enter the workforce, go back to school, single moms, whatever the case is, we're there to assist them with those items. We also work with 7 other community service providers to supply those bags of personal care items. So things like deodorant that we all take for granted have now become an item that is luxury to a lot of folks. It used to be $2, it's now $5, $6, $7. So we want to essentially make sure that people have immediate access to all those hygiene products. And so we provide them to our clients, but we've also expanded that into the community and work with a minimum of 7 other nonprofits, anywhere from ages, for programs ages from 13 all the way up to 85. So we work with New Horizons, James Bay to help them with products, TAPS, community social planning, COPAR administration, Work BC, all of those to provide those personal care items. There's a direct correlation between these personal care items and, basic health. And I think that that's something that's important to anyone. And so that's why I'm working so hard to expand this program across all of the municipalities in the Southern Island.
Thank you so much. What an excellent summation. Are there any questions from colleagues? So I have Mayor Murdoch and Councillor Watson.
Thank you. Sorry, a couple of questions just because it's new for us. Certainly, obviously, interesting and pretty powerful work you guys are doing. I'm just looking at the budget provided here, and I couldn't find anything online. It's just a total of $7,000 is the totality of your revenue. So that's not your total society revenue?
No, that's just for this one program. That's just for the Care for You program, and I've expanded it even further since I wrote the budget. So that's, yeah.
And then the other question I have was just, again, proportionality of our guidelines sort of target things that are more directed at Oak Bay, and this obviously covers more regional, which is fine. But it's 3,000 out of 7,000 total budget. Yeah. So maybe perhaps some explanation of the rationale for that.
Sure. So we are seeing, like I said, a very large range of ages in the community, and we are working towards more of assisting more seniors, those that can't leave their homes, those that are in more of this area. And we're also looking at working expanding more into the UVic area and those students that are experiencing, issues with being able to provide those basic, hygiene items for themselves. So it's an expansion of the program, but it's hard for me to give you exact demographics of where these individuals come from because we don't necessarily ask that information. When we have clients participate in our program, we don't necessarily ask for demographic info.
That's fine. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
I have to interrupt one more time. I'm sorry. I need a motion to extend the meeting 10 more minutes, please.
All right. Extend it to 10:30.
All right. I have a motion to extend to 10:30. Is there a seconder? Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thanks very much. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, no.
Mr. Watson?
Thank you very much through you, Chair. Just a quick question. So in order to make this work, do you receive these items by donation from suppliers, or do you just buy them in bulk to reduce the cost? Or how does that actually work?
Do both. So we put out social media calls for specific items when we're short, specifically those higher price items like deodorant, toothbrush, toothpastes. We are fortunate enough to work with Soap for Hope in the city, so we purchase anything that we can from them, soap, shampoo, conditioner. They sell those items at a very, very low cost, so that enables us to be able to buy more and serve more people. But they do run out, and they are also dependent on donations.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? I seeing none. Thank you very much for being here
Thank
tonight.
you.
Really appreciate it. And the work is very important.
Thank you so much.
And we have one last person who I hope is still feeling joyful and musical, and it's the West Coast Chamber of Music, Monica Fau, at Chamber Musician in person. Thanks for being here, and thanks so much for waiting.
Okay, I'd like to begin by introducing West Coast Chamber Music. We are a registered nonprofit and charity. We're in our 31st season, presenting small chamber music ensembles in the Lower Mainland, Vancouver area. And last year, we decided to expand into Vancouver Island, and specifically Oak Bay. We thought it would be an interesting opportunity to try to do the same thing successfully in Oak Bay that we've been doing in the Lower Mainland for 31 years. And we started by presenting a really interesting program with string quartet, clarinet, and piano. It was received enthusiastically. We had another concert, but the problem with all of this was that we needed some funding to make this work, because just with ticket sales alone, we were able to just pay for essentially two of the 5 or 6 people that we were using for the concerts. And our musicians are all local. They're from Vancouver Island, from the Victoria Symphony, also from Vancouver Opera and Vancouver Symphony. And in order for this to be sustainable, of course, in the future, we can't ask people to donate their services as they've been doing up till now. 3 of the or 4 people for every concert have been just donating services and just saying, oh, we won't worry about it. But to move ahead with this and to attract the right caliber of musician, we obviously need to support this and be able to pay everyone properly. We now have a sponsor, Mom's Cake Cafe on Oak Bay Avenue. Very proud of that. They provide refreshments for us. And we present at St. Mary's on Elgin Avenue, they've been wonderful. They've been donating their venue for rehearsals, and they have volunteers taking care of ticket sales and refreshments. They're wonderful. So we've been very happy. But this is essentially the reason we're asking for help with funding, because we would like to be able to pay our musicians properly. And in conclusion, we have a short clip. It's only about just over a minute long. Maybe it's an interesting way to end your meeting this evening by having some music.
Yes, will they play quickly?
And this is just a concert we gave just a few days ago in Oak Bay at St. Mary's. Oh. Okay. We heard a bit. Oh, what's happening? Oh dear. Oh no.
was a unique ending to the meeting. Any questions? Councillor Smart and then Mayor Murdoch.
Hi, thank you so much for that musical presentation. That was great. I just wanted to ask, since the District of Oak Bay primarily supports arts organizations through our contributions to the CRD Arts Commission that then adjudicates the grants, did you consider applying to the CRD Arts Commission? And if you did, what was the result of that process?
I have not done so yet, but that's a good suggestion for next year.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Murdoch?
So my question was essentially the same, so I'll just put a plug in for that as well. I would say that as a district, can't remember the exact amount, but it's a neighborhood of $70,000 that we fund that every year. It's from taxpayers of BC, of Oak Bay. Very little of it comes back into our community, so we like to encourage people, if they're holding artistic events in Oak Bay, that they go through that process, because I think we don't see enough of that money coming back into our community, and so it's nice when we see these things. So for
Very
next
nice.
year, yeah.
For sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for finishing it off with a little bit of music.
Okay.
Not
Thank
the
you
most highest fi audio I've ever heard.
No, indeed.
Thank you so much. And Councillor Smart is our council liaison to the CRD Arts Committee, so it might be worth a cup of coffee at Mom's
Sounds good.
to talk about grant funding.
Great
Anyway,
suggestion.
thank you for
All
being
right.
here tonight and
All
for
right.
sharing the information.
Thank you.
Good night. That appears to be the list, and thanks again for all the work you did to put that list together with all the people, and that was a lot of work. I don't think we have anything else. Don't forget a reminder that we are expected to have the spreadsheets back to our director by May the 23rd. Was that correct? Yes.
Would you like the
I always
motions?
feel the pressure when this.
Would you like the motions here, just to receive the report?
Yes, thank you.
I'll move that we receive report.
Thank you. A seconder, Councillor Smart, thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries.
And then I'll just recommend that Committee of the Whole recommends the council that staff be directed to follow the council approved grant and aid process, which is laid out there. Return to council with the council assignments.
Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Do I need to call?
Yeah, need a second.
And I have, actually, I'll second it, but then could I also ask a question? Through you, acting chair to staff, I wondered, as part of what we're approving with this motion on the table, does that also approve the timeline between applicants applying and then us having this grant presentation at the table? Is that part of what we're approving with this motion, or is that separate and something I should bring up with staff at a separate time?
So thank you for the question. The confirmation about the process from council this evening is just to proceed to the next steps and the way with which we'll deliberate. So that would be just confirming that the spreadsheets, the individual allocations that council will provide will be averaged, brought back for a recommended amount, and then of course approved amounts being received from council. In terms of the process for next year, absolutely can take direction at any time if there are changes to that existing process.
Thank you for that clarification through you, Chair, to staff. If I might just ask then, would just a conversational note about potentially being able to shorten that timeline be in order, or would a motion more be in order? I guess what I've seen, particularly for arts organizations, and we saw tonight, and I think we had this experience again last year, that the period of time between applicants applying and us actually making decisions at the table is currently fairly lengthy, and sometimes events have already occurred, or it gives an uncertainty to certain organizations about the funding, and I just wondered if it's possible to shorten up the time period between when applications are received and decisions are actually made at the table.
Did anyone want to respond?
I would suggest at this point I'll take the feedback, put some thought into it, and then consider what options might be. There is potential that it is a slight adjustment in terms of timing of process. We are within the Financial Services Department at that time of year quite busy. I suspect that affected our timeline design, but would like to take that away so I can receive that feedback here and come back if necessary.
Councillor Smart, does that help? Thank you. Thank you very much. Director LaChance. And Councillor Watson.
Thank you. I have a question related to the decision-making process. There was, one of the groups did not come to present tonight, and I have some questions about the application. I'm not sure who to direct them to. It was from the Heritage Foundation. So I don't know what to do about my allocation until I have more information. So what's the process for that?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Chair, would be happy to receive that question, and we can follow up with any of the applicants. We have all of their contact information and have been able to follow up with them on other matters, so that won't be a problem.
Well, I could email, and then your response will just be distributed to all the members of council too, right?
That's
okay.
correct.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good point. Any other questions or comments before I call the question? I'm calling the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. There's Councillor Appleton. There he is. And did we have a second motion? I'm sorry. Okay, great. Okay. Is there any new business? Oh, good.
Move adjournment.
So I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. A seconder? Councillor Watson seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Nice to see you online there, Councillor Appleton.
Thanks, everyone.